Chapter 76. Little brat, don't leave in such a hurry. The sky behind us was like a bright sun rising. Li Xian froze after taking a few steps, and a voice came into his mind through the influence of soul power. They are chasing me. His heart was pounding. Li Xian knew he couldn't leave, so he had to stop. In fact, he didn't want to have anything to do with the titled Douluo of the Spirit Hall. But, they came to save him. I wanted to escape from here without anyone noticing, but how powerful is the titled Douluo's perception? He was locked onto by the other party almost instantly. Li Xian stopped suddenly, leaving 2 long mud marks on the ground. Immediately look upward. A figure in white wrapped in a strange chrysanthemum stepped in and landed in front of him. Do you know who I am? Yu Guan asked Li Xian with interest in his neutral voice. Now, Ghost Douluo also landed beside Yu Guan, with his hands folded into his sleeves, like a candle shadow swaying in the void. You are a titled Douluo? Li Xian asked respectfully, holding his fist. He thought about it and decided to just expose the other party's identity, so that the other party would have no room to pretend. Haha. Yu Guan laughed when he heard it. Let me introduce myself. I am the elder of my spirit hall. My name is Yu Guan, and the world respectfully calls me Ju Douluo. Li Xian greets His Majesty Yu Guan, Elder, I am also from the spirit hall. My mouth twitched. Li Xian suddenly realized that he had said the wrong thing. You should first thank the other party for helping you. Of course, that's a bit too deliberate. The real wisdom is to pretend to be ignorant when you know the truth. You know, I'm here because of you. Oh. Don't be surprised, this is the truth. Because you and I are destined to be together, I will save you. Talking room, Yu Guan came in front of Li Xian, and in the palm of his outstretched right hand, a huge purple chrysanthemum was slowly turning. Does it look familiar? Is this Kasha? Li Xian was stunned for a moment, and then continued to talk nonsense. At the same time, the aura in his body was mobilized by Yu Guan, and his martial soul manifested itself autonomously. The vines grew continuously, and each of the 3 Qingxue string of moon vines had a whole cluster of flowers. The buds bloomed, and they were very similar to the martial spirit of Ju Douluo Yueguan. The beautiful scent flows, and the strange chrysanthemum releases a refreshing fragrance that penetrates the body. Even though he was prepared, when Ju Douluo saw this strange martial spirit, the corner of his eye still twitched hard to hide. This kid doesn't have one top-level martial spirit, but a bunch of them. The floating ghost Douluo had a hoarse voice and let out a piercing and strange laugh. It seemed to be mocking Ju Douluo. This guy is much better than you. Yu Guan was not angry either. He dispersed his martial spirit and put his hands behind his back, looking at Li Xian's body with satisfaction. Is it a fusion of martial spirits with the girl from the Fieran family? Yes, there is no way to cancel it now. I am sorry, Your Majesty. Li Xian's height is nearly 3 meters. His eyes were also looking down at Ju Douluo. Of course he knew that this was not polite, but he could not use up all the soul power in his body even if he burned it desperately. You're welcome. I'm doing this for you this time because, first, I want to meet you, and second, I want to take you as my apprentice. Are you willing? Ju Douluo's voice was ethereal. He didn't beat around the bush either. Years of living a life of luxury have given his tone an irresistible calmness. In his opinion, as a titled Douluo, he was someone that ordinary spirit masters would never see in their lifetime. How could anyone refuse the olive branch he extended? Li Xian opened his mouth after hearing this. She said this as if she didn't give him any chance to refuse. There was also embarrassment on his face. Do I have to become your disciple, Your Majesty? Ju Douluo frowned, a hint of displeasure flashing across his face. He was rejected. Did this kid take the wrong medicine? Will I be at a disadvantage if I take him as my master? Or what? You. Before Yu Guan could finish his words, Li Xian continued, I am studying in Nottingham now. The people there treat me very well, and I want to stay there. So, that's what you're worried about. The frown on Ju Douluo Yu Guan's face slowly relaxed and he smiled slightly. Growing up in a small place like that will not be good for you, and I won't force you. If you are willing to become my disciple, I will give you 3 years of freedom. If you can continue to maintain your current growth rate, there won't be much point in me keeping you around. Otherwise, you will be destroying your own future and wasting your time. Do you understand what I mean? Understood, teacher. Li Xian's expression changed quickly. He considered a lot. First of all, he was being hunted by Poison Douluo. On the other hand, Mission and Dolan's families also had grievances with him. With Ju Douluo's protection, I will definitely be safe. In addition, Li Xian knew that the current timeline was still very early, and it would take 6 years before Tang San and the Spirit Hall would fall out. As long as he works hard to cultivate during this period, change the attitudes of Ju Douluo and Ghost Douluo. No one knows what will happen in the future. No matter where people are, they need a noble person. For Li Xian now, the existence of titled Douluo is his noble person. It seems, I have no reason to refuse. You won't lose any weight, and at the same time you can get protection from the titled Douluo. As for resources, you can also use the back door. It can be said that there are hundreds of benefits and no harm. Haha, smart boy. Ju Douluo put his hands behind his back, feeling finally satisfied. He also had his own apprentice. His legacy has been inherited by a handsome boy. Thinking of this, Douluo Yuguan came to Li Xian, pointed his soul power palm at Li Xian's chest, then flew into the air, pressed his palm on Li Xian's head, and released an extremely gentle soul power. Teacher, what is this? Li Xian's body turned into light, and Filin in his body also flew out. As he and Yuguan landed, Douluo's right hand still rested on his body. Level 39.5, Level 39, Level 38. Li Xian was shocked to find that the level of his soul power was actually decreasing. It seemed as if there was a huge hand above the sea of A gods, solidifying his foundation and pushing back his empty soul power. Your realm has improved too quickly, affecting your foundation. My soul power attribute is similar to yours, so I can help you suppress it. Yuguan explained softly. Thank you, teacher. Li Xian felt a little grateful. It turns out that Douluo is a pretty nice person. Perhaps because of his different standpoint, his predetermined fate was viewed through tinted glasses. Well, since I've promised you, I won't interfere anymore. Everyone needs space to grow. Little boy, maybe you can grow to my level in the future without my help. Take this token. I gave it to your caretaker before. This one is the Spirit Hall Elder token. Seeing this token is like seeing me in person. Anyone from the Spirit Hall must kneel down. It can protect you when you encounter danger in the future. Good. Li Xian bowed respectfully and took the token into his arms. Chapter 77. Oh, there's one more thing. I seem to sense a familiar aura on you. Did you get the Qirong Tongtian chrysanthemum? Douluo Yuguan withdrew his white hand from Li Xian's head and asked a question softly. Are you talking about Thesa Euro? The immortal herbs growing in the yin-yang eye of fire and ice, even though most of them had been harvested by Li Xian, there were still many rare herbs left. Apart from the 6 plant-based beasts, the rest of the magical herbs are not isolated items. This is as expected. Looking at the huge purple chrysanthemum in Li Xian's palm, Douluo was moved. Unexpectedly, he could encounter this magical product again. The faint fragrance released by the strange chrysanthemum is refreshing. Just by looking at it, Douluo felt as if his body was about to melt. Everyone thought that he was a natural genius who could cultivate the chrysanthemum spirit and become a titled Douluo. However, only some very close people would know that chrysanthemum Douluo Yuegwen relied on a strange chrysanthemum to improve his martial soul and achieve what he has today. If he could get the strange chrysanthemum in Li Xian's hand, then his soul power that had been stagnant for decades would definitely improve again. Perhaps, he could even reach the level of ultimate Douluo. Unable to help herself, she stretched out her fingers and gently stroked the strange chrysanthemum in Li Xian's palm. After a moment, he resisted the urge and retracted his hand. Alas! This opportunity is not his. He had just agreed to take the boy as his apprentice, and now he is going to snatch his opportunity. Not to mention the dignity he developed after becoming a titled Douluo, as an elder of the Spirit Hall, his personality and status would not allow him to do this. Because that is the dignity he is proud of as a superior. It doesn't belong to me. Silently thinking in my heart, Douluo Yuguan suppressed his reluctance and decided to give up. Do you want it, teacher? However, what Ling Yuegwen did not expect was that Li Xian took out a smaller Qirong Tongtianji from the soul guide. After comparing the 2 fairy quality chrysanthemums in her hands, she gritted her teeth and gave him the bigger one. Another chrysanthemum. Wait, how come there are 2? Douluo Yuguan's pupil shrank to the size of a needle tip. It seems difficult to accept this situation. Li Xian scratched his head. I found these in Poison Douluo's home, but these herbs are highly toxic and need to be detoxified before they can be eaten. I already have one, teacher. If you need it, you can take it. Li Xian also understood the rule that one cannot receive rewards without merit. Since Douluo accepted him as his disciple, he also gave him the elder token. Then just give up one of the extra chrysanthemums. Anyway, in the eyes of Binghuo Lianji, the largest Qirong Tongtian chrysanthemum had been eaten by him. Well, say 2 good words in a row, Douluo Yuguan is not a pretentious person either. This kind of thing is a rare fortune even for him. Taking the charming fairy quality Yangzhe from Li Xian, Yuguan found that his palms were shaking. You're lucky, hee. Ghost Douluo Gaimei laughed grimly beside him. If my old partner gets this magical item, his strength will surely soar to a whole new level. Then, the soul power of 2 people who can fuse their martial souls will also be enhanced by complementing each other. Teacher owes you a favor. This thing is really important to me. You are very good, Li Xian. Douluo thought to himself. The fact that Li Xian generously gave this thing to him showed that he already had a place for him in his heart. Not only was his identity recognized, but he was also delighted by Li Xian's magnanimity. No matter what, he has decided to accept this disciple. Yuguan's eyes showed excitement. The more I look at Li Xian, the more satisfied I am. Elder Ghost Douluo, I have other treasures here, do you want them? Li Xian scratched his head and fumbled around in the storage soul guide. Immediately, just take out a herb that is black in appearance and has large, round, connected leaves, similar to Polygonum multiflorum. This is the soul gathering and soul refining crow. Although it cannot compare to the neutral fairy products in terms of quality, but it can also be considered an extremely rare and precious elixir. Oh, and there's my share too. Ghost Douluo spoke in a hoarse voice, and his floating figure floated in front of Li Xian. He took the medicine in his hand, put it in front of his nose and sniffed it, and the vortex in his eyes trembled. Nice one. At the level of titled Douluo, one's senses have reached a level that is unimaginable for ordinary people. So, as long as he feels it carefully, he can determine whether the elixir in Li Xian's hand is helpful to him. I took your things, but unfortunately I can't give you anything. In fact, I intend to take your girlfriend as my apprentice. But her soul power is too low now, and knowing my existence will not do her much good. Ghost Douluo Gaimei said as he fumbled in his storage soul guide and took out 2 rings. He then said, the demon sealing heaven and earth ring, a toy I found by chance, is a soul guide that can store living things. Take it. Ding dong. 2 rings, one white and one black, collided. Make a crisp sound. Li Xian took it in his hand and clasped his fist respectfully. Thank you, Ghost Elder. Hehe, you and I are each doing what we need. Don't forget to help her practice well. Qirong Tongtianju, it turns out to be you, hehe. Next to him, Zhu Douluo Yuguan held the immortal herbs in his hand tightly and couldn't let go, and he hadn't yet come out of his joy. Ghost Douluo's already dark face seemed to darken even more. He stretched out his foot and kicked to the side. Don't be so conspicuous. What a shame. Snort. Chrysanthemum Douluo Yuguan proudly put away the Qirong Tongtian chrysanthemum. This is a treasure that can help him break through. Having been stuck at level 95 for a long time, his life finally took a turn. Ultimate Douluo. He finally had a chance to fight. Seeing the strange relationship between the two, Li Xian laughed dryly. Could it be that they are really a gay couple as people say? Thinking of this, he was also a little ashamed. My teacher seems to have some strange flaws. Well, teacher, Ghost Elder, I have something else to do, so I'll take my leave now. Li Xian clasped his fist slightly, then he picked up Yuexi, who was sleeping on the ground, and held her in his arms with his hands across his knees. It's okay, we have to go out too, so we'll give you a ride. Li Xian was still thinking about declining and planned to play in the Sunset Forest for a while. The next second, the scenes in front of him flashed, and he had already appeared on the outskirts of the Sunset Forest. 2 figures floated away in the sky, and a voice came from afar. Remember to practice hard. No. He sighed briskly, titled Douluo. Li Xian, who already has such strength, finds that there is still a big gap between him and the strongest person in this world. Chrysanthemum Douluo Yueguan and Ghost Douluo Gaimei, both are titled Douluo at level 95. How long will it take for him to take that step? Chapter 78. Province of Fasno. The returning group returned to the Fedor family. He did not tell the whole story of what happened to Li Xian, and concealed the affairs of Zhu Douluo and Ghost Douluo. Fixia has not yet recovered from the shock, because after her sister and Li Xian disappeared, she came back with a soul power of level 24. Damn it! Why is she so lucky? Fixia even felt that even if it was a dog, as long as it could get some benefits from Li Xian, it could be upgraded quickly. It would be great if she also had the green snake's martial spirit. On the contrary, Firen was very excited at the moment. She had no idea what was happening, and she was already level 24. Although she was 6 levels behind her sister, the difference in soul power had already been eliminated. Firen was almost inseparable from Li Xian. I will be back tomorrow. Thank you for the care of the Fido family during this period. If you still need anything, I will do my best to meet your needs. There were several figures sitting or standing in the living room. In addition to Fixia and Firen, the 2 girls' father and their uncle Leon were also here. Haha, just enjoy your stay. The Fido family welcomes you to come and play next time. That's right. If you're leaving tomorrow, let my 2 daughters stay with you today. This is not a place for adults like us to stay. Having said that, the 2 middle-aged men left. After all, Li Xian is still a child of 7 or 8 years old, and it is more or less deliberate for them to be strong. Fixia smiled slightly and walked to Li Xian's side. My mother is very interested in you and she wants to meet you, too. Yet. However, she is out of town now, so I'm afraid there is no chance. Li Xian looked at Fixia calmly and said from the bottom of his heart, you should have something else to say, just say it directly, don't be polite with me. Fixia hesitated, yes. You have made great achievements in soul guides. My father? No. He is the patriarch of our Feiduo family. He hopes you can help our family make a set of Dukai, 100 forged one will do. Our family can provide 10 times the required materials in gold soul coins. In this world, not many people know about soul guides. However, Fixia's family is definitely one of them. Especially in the research on the humanoid soul guide Dokai, over the past 100 years, so many talented children have found it difficult to achieve anything in the production of soul guides. This is not something that can be practiced just by having certain conditions. Not only does it require the corresponding soul power, it also has extremely high requirements for soul strength. Soul masters at the Soul King level are almost the backbone of the family. There aren't many people who can cultivate to become Soul Kings, and to find one among them who has the talent for soul guides is simply like a dream. Therefore, even though they knew Dokai's peculiarities, the Fido family could only drool. After seeing Li Xian, an outlier, and seeing that the younger generations of the family were close to Li Xian, the Fido family was also tempted. Anyway, through this relationship, let Li Xian help make Dukai. It takes more than a month to make a set of Dukai, and it can provide the wearer with 20 levels of soul power. Li Xian muttered to himself. The first part is his explanation of the difficulties, and the second part is a reminder of the benefits of the Fedor family. The implication is simple. I don't have time to build Dukai now, and if I just provide 10 times the assets, it's not enough. Li Xian knew the value of his ability. The Fado family has a soul saint. After wearing his Dukai, they directly possess the power comparable to that of a titled Douluo. Furthermore, if you use the warmth of your body to upgrade this set of Dukai during your lifetime, you will be able to gain an additional 20 levels of soul power. What is the concept? It would not be an exaggeration to directly let their family rise. If this kind of power were known to outsiders, all the families would probably line up to ask Li Xian for help. Li Xian now only wants to practice seriously. He has no way to help the Fado family achieve those energy-consuming things. Is it not possible? Fixia was slightly disappointed. Although she thought of this possibility, she thought that this was the reason why her friendship with Li Xian had not reached that stage yet. Don't think too much. Li Xian reminded casually. Looking at Fixia's expression, I guess she was overthinking it again. I can promise to help your family make a set of battle armor in the future. But it's not very convenient now, I need to improve my soul power first. Fixia's face lit up with joy. She didn't expect Li Xian to agree. You're worried that you don't have enough soul power, right? It doesn't matter, my sister will lend it to you, you can use it however you want. As she spoke, Fixia pushed the confused Filin out. There are question marks on my head, Firen found that she seemed to be sold. Li Xian opened his mouth and said, for Doukai, you are really willing to sacrifice. He coughed lightly and declined politely. Now, it's really inconvenient. How about this, for your sake, I'll give it to your family within 3 years. That should be okay, right? Really? That's nice. Fixia slapped Li Xian hard. The friendship between her and Li Xian, who had known each other for a long time, still existed, which made her feel a little touched. What about Filin? Do you still want it? It's okay if you take it. Fixia did not forget to promote her sister. Li Xian is really speechless. This Fado family really eats and takes at the same time. I'm afraid Filin himself knows that training with him is good for the growth of soul power. I really want to trap him. Besides, when I give you something like this, Fixia, don't say I didn't think of you. Li Xian took out the specially picked 3-leaf snake elixir grass from the soul guide. Because there was only one good immortal product, and he ate it all, the only things he could give to Fixia were these good and rare immortal medicines. And he didn't give it randomly. This elixir is very beneficial to snake spirits, and its properties are the same as those of the white snake spirit. Fixia's eyes lit up as she stared at the palm of Li Xian's hand, at the ganodermal item with 3 leaves and white mist on its surface. Suddenly she thought of something. My sister Filin's soul power increased so quickly, could it be related to this thing? Really for me? Fixia's heart was beating. Li Xian is so nice to her friend. It's really worth making friends with this guy. Take it. Boil it in hot water before eating. I have already detoxified it. Thank you very much. Fixia was straightforward and rude, she flipped her wrist and put it in her pocket. Beside him, Firen licked his tongue, as if to say, is there anything for me? You've already eaten. Li Xian rolled his eyes. He fed this girl 2 immortal products. Most of them are beautiful tulips and neutral fairy products such as 8-petal fairy orchids. Her soul power increased so quickly, and because of this, everything is excessive or insufficient, too many immortal medicines would damage her foundation. Even Li Xian himself. It was also with the help of Douluo that he suppressed his soul power to level 38. But that day he almost exploded and died. It's the last day, have fun. Fixia suddenly suggested. Yay hooky. Looking back on the winter he had spent practicing, Li Xian also wanted to relax. He then reminded me of one thing, ask your clan leader to prepare the materials for making the soul guide first. It may not take 3 years. I will find time to complete it. It's a dial euro. Chapter 79. It was 3 days later when Li Xian returned to Nottingham. There is still half a day left before school starts. However, the enrollment report for the 2nd semester of the 1st grade has ended. Li Xian first returned to the Spirit Hall, and then found Master Matthew, telling him about his encounter with Douluo and Ghost Douluo. Mashino is like a relative to Li Xian. So there was nothing hidden. Have you really accepted His Majesty Yu Guan as your master? This is incredible. Otherwise, look at my elder token. Looking closely, Matthew took a breath of cold air. For ordinary soul masters, titled Douluo is an existence that they will never be able to encounter in their lifetime. This kid is so lucky. Of course, this also has something to do with his talent. Having awakened a top-level plant-type martial spirit and working very hard, it is only natural that he has such an opportunity. By the way, Master Ma, I'll give you this. It will help your soul power. Li Xian picked a lot of 9th grade purple Ganoderma in the yin-yang eyes of ice and fire. So he gave 1 portion to Matthew. Not to mention anything else, when he was still weak, it was only with the help of Master Ma that he was able to obtain the spirit ring. As a guide on the road to becoming a soul master, how could Li Xian, who had benefited from it, forget him? Boy, I'm glad you are thinking of Grandpa, but this thing is of no use to my old bones, so you should use it yourself. At Matthew's age, many things have been opened up. Instead, he hoped that Li Xian would not waste these resources. I have a lot, so don't be so hypocritical. Li Xian rudely forced the rare herb into Mashino's hands. Then turn around and leave. This kid. Looking at the fragrant herbs in his hand, Matthew felt as if there was sand in his eyes. A warm feeling also emerged in my heart. Next, Li Xian went to his weapons workshop and temporarily placed all the rare metals given to him by the Fedor family and the large amount of supplies he purchased in the Fast No province there. Then, he returned to the Junior Soul Master Academy and found Dean Su and Director Luo. Li Xian also gave the second elders the 9th grade purple Ganoderma. At first, these two people were a little embarrassed like Matthew. After seeing Li Xian's sincerity, he was moved and accepted it. In Li Xian's eyes, these three people helped him the most, so he was willing to share the herbs with them. As for people like Wu Jian and Teacher Zhang, who had interacted with him in the college, they were not very close friends, so there was no need for him to be generous. Li Xian also left a piece of immortal item for Tang San and Xiao Wu. It must be said that this time when he stabbed poison Douluo's house, he actually robbed Tang San of his opportunity. After leaving the principal's office of the Soul Academy, Li Xian returned to the staff dormitory without stopping. After 2 months of absence, a lot of dead leaves have piled up in front of the building. Apparently no one had started cleaning yet. Looking at the familiar doors and windows, Li Xian immediately returned to his dormitory. Knock knock. After knocking on the door, Li Xian walked straight in. I'm still a little excited. I haven't seen Uxi for more than 2 months, and joy is still lingering in my heart. Is it Li Xian? Uxi's soft voice came from the bedroom. Then, a slightly taller figure with long hair, wearing a school uniform on one half of her body and cotton stockings and slippers on the lower half, walked out of the bedroom. Haven't seen you for a long time. Li Xian opened his arms and smiled slightly. Uxi was very sensible and pounced on him. Holding Li Xian, he raised his head from his chest, his eyes shining brightly. Missed me? Why did you come back just now? Something delayed me. I guess I haven't been slacking off in the past 2 months. Uxi shook her head, her 2 ponytails dangling down her shoulders. No, I've leveled up again and now have level 26 soul power. How about you? Better than you. Li Xian smiled mysteriously. In fact, before the end of winter vacation, he used his strength to help Uxi's 2 martial souls change to 1,000 years old. Therefore, the cultivation brought by the soul ring raised her soul power to level 25. A winter passed, even without her, Uxi also improved her soul power by 1 level through her own efforts. It's very good. Feeling Li Xian's strong chest muscles, the 2 people's soul power merged at the touch, and Uxi was stunned. So strong. At least, he has the cultivation level of a soul master, right? I brought you something good. Li Xian's words interrupted Uxi's thoughts. He pulled her into the bedroom, spun her around in his arms, and then put Uxi on the bed. For me. Regarding Li Xian's behavior, Uxi had long been accustomed to it. She sat on the bed expectantly, swinging her legs in white stockings. Li Xian didn't waste any time. He first handed the storage soul guide ring that Ghost Douluo had given him to Uxi. Oh, there's more. Then he took out the Narcissus Jade Muscle and Bone, one of the rare immortal items, from the black ring. It can improve physical fitness, enhance body speed and flexibility, nourish bones, and open up the 8 meridians. Very suitable for Uxi's agile attack spirit. Wow. After opening her mouth, Uxi's whole pretty face was illuminated by the fairy item. The appearance of Narcissus jade-like skin and bones is like a green lotus that is not stained by dust, and it also looks like a transparent and crystal floating dewdrop. Holding it in the palm of your hand, you can feel the extremely pure scent of the elixir. Eat the petals first, then suck the stamens. Li Xian reminded beside him. Good. Nodding, Uxi did as she was told obediently. How could it be that what Li Xian gave her was meant to cheat her? After a while, Narcissus's jade bones entered his abdomen, and Li Xian gently held Uxi's hand to protect her. The medicinal properties of the immortal product are neutral and not strong. The medicinal power of the essence instantly dissolved in the body, nourishing Uxi's meridians and body. Her cheeks were slightly flushed, and her skin seemed to be covered with a layer of moisture. After a winter of maintenance, the already smooth skin has become even whiter, and the whole person is as pure as the wet morning dew outside the window. Clatter. Uxi opened her eyes, a wave of waves is reflected deep in the pupil. Her whole aura became different. Wow. Li Xian, my soul power has increased by 4 levels. Covering her little mouth, Uxi's face showed deep disbelief. Haha, normal. Rubbing her head, Li Xian was not surprised. After devouring 6 or 7 immortal products, he almost reached the soul master level from the soul venerable level. If Uxi had taken the 6 rare immortal products, the improvement would have been even more obvious. Thinking of this, Li Xian's heart moved, and he took out the acacia heartbreak red that he had transplanted into the soul guide. Thanks to the nourishment of the soul power from the small spring inside its body, this immortal product did not wither. Uxi, this one is for you too. What's this? Looking curiously at the gorgeous flower that was blooming like a red spider lily. Uxi's eyes also became brilliant. After a moment of silence, Li Xian told Uxi the origin and efficacy of acacia heartbreak red. Carry it with you first. If one day you feel the time is right, you can pick it and eat it. Proof of love, only one master in a lifetime. Thinking back to what Li Xian had said, Uxi was stunned. Holding the acacia in my hand, I gently closed my eyes. Then, a mouthful of blood spurted out. Moonlight evening. Li Xian was startled. Chapter 80. Blood sprayed on the petals of the acacia heartbroken red, and colorful light shone. This fairy flower suddenly floated up and flew in front of Uxi. Under Li Xian's shocked gaze, the flower merged into Uxi's palm. Clench your little hands and hold it gently. There was still blood on Uxi's mouth. And that delicate yet pale face is embellished like flying maple leaves in autumn. You. Take a deep breath. Li Xian's heart was deeply moved. She is only 7 years old, but she has won the recognition of Xiang Sijuan Changhong. Perhaps, innocent love is the purest and is not tainted by any dirty thoughts. Li Xian thought to himself, with his current mental state, there is no way he can gain the approval of Xiang Sijuan Changhong. Who did you just think of? Stroking Uxi's soft black hair, Li Xian asked carefully. You guess. Smiling with her white teeth showing, Uxi's big eyes were curved together. It can be anyone. Li Xian laughed happily in his heart. Even if it wasn't him, it wouldn't be a bad idea for Uxi to think of her relatives. That was the gift he prepared for Uxi. How to use it is also Uxi's business. Eating this immortal product will provide at least 10 levels of soul power. The immortal product itself also has the effect of resurrecting the dead. I will use it when I need it in the future. Uxi nodded heavily. She understands. Originally, Li Xian thought that this acacia heartbreak red would slowly lose its medicinal properties without his nourishment. No worries now. Uxi gained the recognition of acacia heartbroken red, and this magical product will accompany her and only recognize this master for the rest of her life. You are now level 30. When I make you another gift, I will take you to the Star Forest. Li Xian sat next to Uxi and hugged her lovingly. Any more gifts? It's only been 2 months since we last met. Uxi found that Li Xian was thinking about her too much. On the contrary, the delicious food I brought from home seemed shabby. Well, you'll like it. The gift Li Xian wanted to give was naturally the Beiduan Dukai that he could make. Speaking of which, if I want to make a humanoid soul guide, I still need Uxi's help. He promised Fishia to make Dukai for the Fido family. It just so happened that he could use the leftover materials to make a set while making Dukai for Uxi. Haven't seen you for a long time. For the next afternoon, Li Xian didn't go anywhere. He stayed in the bedroom and shared some of his winter vacation experiences with Uxi. Li Xian was craving for the snacks that Uxi brought. He has been fully devoted to the research of soul guides in the Fido family for more than a month, and has not had a good time. I can't help but feel happy when I see the specialties from my hometown. Fried cakes and candied fruits are snacks that you can't buy in Nottingham. They taste very sweet in your mouth. At the same time, Li Xian also recounted his encounter with Ju Douluo. Uxi was shocked to hear that Ju Douluo Yuguan accepted Li Xian as his disciple. So, you already have a titled Douluo as your teacher, right? Certainly. You are so awesome, Li Xian. That's a must. Li Xian still remembers the promise he made to Ghost Douluo. Therefore, she didn't tell Uxi about the thing she also liked. Li Xian also knew that he was different, and he had decided to use his identity to re-register and participate in the competition for the disciples of the Spirit Hall openly. Among the competitors participating in the competition today, even the golden generation of Spirit Hall only has the cultivation level of Soul Sect at most. Compared to this competition, you can already reserve the final Soul Bone reward. The next day, Li Xian and Uxi, who had not seen each other for a long time, woke up from the fusion of their martial souls. Holding the moon in my arms, Li Xian couldn't let it go. It's still better to follow Nazai's soul power fusion degree. Both of them currently have the cultivation level of Soul Master, and the effect of soul power concentration has become obvious. However, as the level increases, the upgrade process begins to become slow. Although the efficiency increases, the upgrade speed is still stable. After breakfast, Li Xian took Uxi to the villa workshop in Notting City and began to prepare for the creation of Dokai. The traces of the fight before leaving are still there. Li Xian found a craftsman to help repair the pillars of the villa. I used this time to go to a nice restaurant in Nottingham and booked meals for the next week. At the college, it won't have much impact even if you don't attend the courses that have just started. Therefore, just take a week off. With the relationship with Dean Su, it is very easy to ask for leave. By the way, Li Xian has already quit his part-time job this semester, so he is no longer short of gold soul coins. The income from the Soul Beast crystal cores is still hundreds of thousands on hand. At noon, the stabilization work on the villa had been completed and the craftsmen were repairing the wall pillars. Li Xian brought Uxi to the second floor of the villa. Facing piles of rare metals, he started forging the 100 forging metals. Uxi's phantom martial soul has an extreme dark attribute. At the same time, in the bloodline of the Fedor family, the green snake martial spirit also possesses some dark attributes. So Li Xian specially selected a special metal called ghostly mithril. Used to make Dukai for Uxi. You just need to give me your soul power and stay by my side. Before starting work, Li Xian gave a special reminder. After he merged with Philin's martial spirit, he could move freely. However, the martial soul fusion skill with Uxi is just a skill state. Therefore, he needed Uxi to help provide soul power. The requirements for the Soul King level of Beiduan are just ambiguous regulations. In fact, as long as the skills are in place, it doesn't matter if the level is a little lower. Uxi knew that Li Xian was making a soul guide for her, and she seemed very concerned about it. Late yesterday, Li Xian had shown her Dokai's specialness. It would be a lie to say she wasn't moved. In this world, becoming powerful is the dream of every soul master. As long as she wears battle armor, she can increase her soul power by 20 levels. Uxi was very excited just thinking about it. Good. Regarding Li Xian's order, Uxi always does what she is told. With her help, Li Xian was like having a mobile power source. When his soul power was used up, he hugged this girl and asked for some more. As the saying goes, once is new, twice is familiar. It took him only 6 days to forge the 11 parts out of 100 forged metal. Compared to the last month, the speed has increased by more than a little. Moreover, Li Xian even doubled the amount of materials prepared for the 100 forgings, fearing that there would not be enough. It can be said that it was exceeded. Day 7. The time has come for Li Xian to show his skills. Beidun could have someone to help him, but the engraving of the soul guide required him to devote all his efforts on his own. Li Xian deliberately rested for half a day to restore his mental and physical strength to their peak. The next day, Li Xian woke up in the early morning, took a deep breath, and began to make doukai. He intends to complete all 11 parts of doukai in one go. Chapter 81. 11 parts, shining brightly and completely black, floated silently in the air. In the weapons workshop on the second floor, Yuexi raised her head and looked up at those exquisite humanoid soul guides. Her pretty face was deeply moved. Li Xian, are these all made for me? Well, the doukai that has been forged 100 times cannot recognize its master before it is nurtured. It can be refined by simply activating its soul power. Li Xian leaned against the wall, panting. It took him almost 3 days to complete Yuexi's entire set of doukai. Empty mind and spirit, his face was covered with sweat and fatigue. However, after seeing Yuexi's excitement, Li Xian felt that it was all worth it. Let's give it a name. Doukai is made up of 4 characters. I only have the ability of 100 forgings now, so the doukai I make can only have 1 character. Your doukai is called Light, right? Yuexi pursed her red lips and said, then, let's call it Shadow. Light and Shadow follow. 2 poles give birth to each other. Yuexi placed some good wishes on her set of doukai. Li Xian nodded slightly, agreeing with Yuexi's naming, and then he explained. Doukai is divided into Jianduan, Lingduan, Hunduan, and Tianduan according to the grade of the forging metal. Only when I have the soul power of a titled Douluo can I impact Tianduan. Doukai made with Tianduan must be 4 character. Yuexi came closer and shook Li Xian's arm. It's okay. 1 word is good enough. I like it very much, haha, you don't understand what I mean, silly girl. Li Xian's chuckle made Yuexi's head tilt. What does it mean? Although the different forging materials determine the level of doukai. However, through the nurturing of the soul and body, it is also possible to upgrade the 100 forgings to 4 characters. Even if I can't become a Tianduan in the future, you still have to work hard and push doukai to become a Tianduan. At that level, the forging factor is not that important. Oh. So that's how it is. Yuexi lowered her head with a slightly red face. Li Xianxi meant for her to not let her guard down, but she foolishly ran to comfort him. Put it on and feel it. Rubbing Yuexi's head, Li Xian activated his soul power with his index finger and mobilized the doukai he made that were naturally friendly to him, and wrapped Yuexi's body one by one. Buzz, the 11 pieces of doukai merged together, and invisible black ripples swept in all directions. The whole house exuded an extremely gloomy atmosphere. Good. As expected of the materials that were carefully selected, doukai successfully possessed the attribute of darkness. The overall streamlined purple-black lightweight armor, the moment Yuexi put it on, her eyes were also covered by the armor's eye protection device. Every part of the body is perfectly combined with doukai. The soul power hidden in the 100 forged metal penetrated each other and poured into her petite body. Suddenly, Yuexi's energy surged, almost doubling her strength. She gently clenched her fists. Yuexi probably needs to feel it. Awesome. She felt like she was completely different. Soul power not only improves strength, but also brings unique senses. Driving her soul power to flow in all directions, the range she could perceive covered almost all units within 200 meters. Li Xian. Thank you. Yuexi pursed her lips, and her big eyes were filled with warmth. She was so shocked by her own power that she almost cried. With a sudden pounce, he rushed into Li Xian's arms. Cough. Do you want to send me away? Li Xian, who was not on guard and even had his soul power not activated, was directly knocked against the wall. I felt like my heart, liver, spleen, lungs, and kidneys were about to be pushed out. Feel sorry. Yuexi reacted and jumped down quickly as if she had made a mistake. It is difficult for doukai made by others to perfectly integrate with the user, but this set I made specifically for you has a good fit and can also increase the soul power by 20 levels. Woo. Are there so many? Of course, this is the only forging technology on the planet. Be happy. Happy. Stop. Seeing Yuexi about to rush over again, Li Xian quickly stopped. If you want to hug him, you should take off doukai first. It's uncomfortable to hug him if he's stiff. Just as Li Xian was thinking this, Yuexi, who had already learned how to use doukai, took off her upper body, jumped happily, put her arms around his neck and kissed him on the face. Thank you. Li Xian was stunned for a moment. This girl became more and more lively in front of him. His personality is no longer as reserved and introverted as before. 10 days into the school term, the two hadn't attended a single class. In a relaxed mood, after finishing the production, Li Xian accompanied Yuexi to play in Nottingham for the whole afternoon. That night, I found Dean Su and told him about our trip to the Star Forest. How dare you ask for leave? Your class teacher is furious and says he won't see you for almost 2 weeks after school starts. Some courses are not that important, Master Su. Li Xian doesn't care about the Tao. Yes, it is true. The teachers in the academy are only at level 10 and can no longer teach you. Dean Su also discovered this situation. Originally, he wanted Li Xian and UXI to complete the course in 3 years, but now it seems that they can finish it earlier. Do you need me to go with you? After taking the 9th grade purple Ganoderma given by Li Xian, Dean Su's complexion became rosy and black strands grew among his white hair. The long dormant soul power also increased by 3 levels. Dean Su was also very surprised. He was a half-buried man, but he actually broke through to the soul master level in his lifetime. The dean should also need a spirit ring, right? Can you come with us? Me? Shaking his head, Dean Su, who had already made up his mind, declined. I have already made an agreement with the 2 old men. You young people don't need to worry about our affairs and, Li Xian's ability is already higher than his. Dean Su knew clearly that Li Xian came here simply to ask for leave, and accompanying him to the Xingde Great Forest would only bring trouble to both of them. Master Su, can you approve my leave? Do you have anything else to tell me? Go ahead, be careful on the road, and remember to look for Zhao Feng when you get there. I casually said a few words. Dean Su found that he had nothing else to say. Li Xian broke through to the Soul Sect level, and UXI also reached the Soul Master level. These 2 little guys are considered to be middle-level strongmen in the Soul Master world. What's even more amazing is that they possess the power of martial soul fusion. Most Soul Masters have the power to handle the situation on their own. Okay, Mr. Su, goodbye. After asking for leave, Li Xian took UXI and left directly. In fact, he didn't have to say hello. But that would seem disrespectful to the 2 elders of the college. 1 semester of training is equivalent to an old man like me practicing for a lifetime. Hey, comparison is really scary. After Li Xian left, Dean Su's back was filled with bleak emotion. He seemed to have anticipated that an extraordinary guy would appear in the world of Soul Masters in the future. Title Douluo? I think this kid can definitely become an ultimate Douluo. No. It is also possible to reach the 100th level of God Realm. Chapter 82. The Star Forest. The Wuhan branch hall built here has very busy work for the staff every day. It has been half a year since Li Xian and UXI last came to this place. At that time, Li Xian only had the cultivation level of a soul master, and UXI was not even a soul master. And now, only half a year has passed, everything has changed. When Li Xian found Soul King Zhao Feng, the other party wanted to dig out his eyeballs and throw them into the water to wash them. It is said that one should look at others with new eyes after 3 days of absence. But Zhao Feng felt that being impressed was not enough. As the person in charge of the Wuhan branch hall, he even served tea himself. Looking at Li Xian's appearance, Zhao Feng was speechless. You are indeed a genius. You have reached the soul sect in just half a year. It's incredible. In the Sunset Forest, Zhu Douluo helped Li Xian stabilize his cultivation at level 38. You know, that is extremely condensed soul power. After returning to Notting City, during the dual cultivation with UXI, the remaining medicinal power of the immortal product in Li Xian's body was completely absorbed. His soul power has also been improved. In addition to the continuous forging work over the past few days, a large amount of soul power has been consumed, all of which are improving the strength in the body and consolidating the foundation of this body. As a result, Li Xian naturally broke through to level 40, and even had a lot of surplus. Zhao Feng thought that with his vision, the look of surprise was still a minor thing. Even if a soul emperor or soul saint came here, they would be shocked by the speed of Li Xian's upgrade. I have increased my level by 20 in half a year. Like a fairy tale. Friend UXI is improving very quickly. When he turned his gaze to UXI, Zhao Feng's shock eased a little. Although it is also very perverted, but compared with the exaggerated degree of Li Xian's upgrade, he could still accept it. In fact, to be honest, Zhao Feng felt more uncomfortable than he was surprised. It only took half a year, and he was only 1 stage away, alas. Anyone who comes here will feel a little disappointed. Dean Su has already informed me that you need spirit rings. Are we leaving now? Zhao Feng took a deep breath to suppress the injustice in his heart. He was not jealous of the 2 children. If Uncle Zhao is free, any time is fine. For Li Xian, of course the sooner the better. With his training speed, every minute and every second is precious. Okay. I'll go gather some people. Wait a moment. Li Xian is already level 40. To help a soul sect member hunt soul beasts, his goal must at least be close to the level of 10,000 years of cultivation. So, naturally, the more manpower the better. Uncle Zhao, just help UXI get the spirit ring. I don't need it. As he spoke, Li Xian released his 4 soul rings. 1 black and 3 purple. The 4th soul ring has already begun to turn black, and like the 3rd soul ring, both are mixed with orange luster. You have already obtained the spirit ring, right? Zhao Feng was startled again. I thought Li Xian had just reached level 40. From this perspective, this kid has been a soul master for a long time, which is incredible. Haha, I guess so. Li Xian scratched his head. In the eyes of Binghuo Lianji, he transplanted 2 plant-type soul beasts that were nearly 10,000 years old. Those soul beasts will wither away from the soil. However, the rate of withering can be slowed down by nourishing it with small springs in the body. Therefore, he refined one of them on the way and obtained an 8,000-year soul ring. Of course, he has also updated his spirit ring. In fact, his real soul ring ratio should be 2 black, 1 purple and 1 black. After using the skill to conceal the breath, the color of the soul ring changed. This was also done to hide his true power. Although Zhao Feng was a good person, he was not someone Li Xian could fully trust. What if we become enemies someday? You really opened my eyes. Well, since there is only friend Yuexi, then the strength of the two of us is enough. The best soul ring age for a soul master is 2000 to 4000 years. There are many details to this. Some auxiliary spirit masters, or spirit masters with useless spirits and weak bodies, can only refine their third spirit ring for 2000 years. However, Uxi, who possesses a top-level martial spirit, can absorb a 4,000 year spirit ring. Is it fair? So unfair. But this is the fact in Douluo Continent. The martial spirit determines everything, and there are different levels of spirit masters. Li Xian and Uxi followed Zhao Feng to make some corrections in the Wuhan Hall. After preparing dry food and supplies for detoxification and insect repellent, we went directly into the Star Forest. On the outskirts of the forest, several people on the road were talking and laughing. Friend Uxi, have you decided which soul beast to hunt this time? Uxi looked at the sunny boy who was holding her hand. She always listens to Li Xian. It's a 1000-year-old ghost tiger. Uxi already has a clone and attacking spirit skills. Just keep increasing the speed. Li Xian was not worried at all about Uxi's attack. He just wanted Uxi to have more ways to save his life. And speed happens to be the best of both worlds for her. Zhao Feng frowned slightly. The soul master stage is very critical, and we need to consolidate the basic strength to pave the way for subsequent cultivation. For example, for me, I changed my path at level 30 and chose a good control soul skill. You'd better think about it carefully. Simply put, the soul skill of the soul master at level 30 needs to build on the past and open up the future to exert its greatest strength. The strong attack system will choose the strongest offensive skill. The control system requires strong control. Even if the road changes, the decision is made at level 30. Because it is difficult to upgrade the level after soul master, for a long time, soul masters rely on the first 3 skills for combat. It must be comprehensive strength. In Zhao Feng's opinion, since Uxi is a quick attack spirit master, it would be best for her to choose a spirit beast that can produce offensive spirit skills as her target. The speed provided by Ghost Tiger is a bit useless. Uncle Zhao has a point. Li Xian nodded slightly. He had not considered the issue of Uxi's upgrade, nor did he think about it as much as the average soul master. Even if Zhao Feng said this, he still hoped that Uxi would continue to increase her speed. Although the soul skills of soul master at this stage are very important, as the quality of soul rings improves, the later the soul rings, the stronger the effect. Li Xian planned clones and attacks for Uxi's first 2 soul rings. Then, the next 6, or even 7 spirit rings, will all be used to increase speed. That would be a huge improvement. The most important thing about the agility attack system is not speed. As long as you are fast enough, if you can't win, at least you can escape. He just had to make sure Uxi, who was following him, wouldn't get hurt. Roar. It was at this time. A low roar was heard in the distance. The woods shook, and an evil aura spread. The 3 people who were walking outside the Xingde Great Forest felt this familiar wave and were stunned at the same time. Uncle Zhao? It's that dark gold terror claw bear. Yes, it is true that the beast has been hanging around in the past 6 months, and it comes out to hurt people every once in a while. What should we do? Should we go back? Uxi's face was pale. The scene of being chased by the terror claw bear was still vivid in her mind. Zhao Feng sighed softly. It seems, it's time to touch it. Before Zhao Feng finished speaking, Li Xian, with sharp eyes, made up his mind. Dark gold terror claw bear. I thought I would never meet you again. It seems like I can take revenge today for the grudge I took half a year ago. Chapter 83. Looking at the strong fighting spirit on Li Xian's face, Zhao Feng opened his mouth. That dark gold terror claw bear has been practicing for more than 13,000 years. Do you want to try it out? Even if you are talented, there's no way to go head on with the natural king of the soul beast world. You know. Soul beasts with cultivation levels exceeding 10,000 years can compete with soul kings and soul emperors. Considering the dragon bloodline of the terror claw bear, even a level 70 soul saint might not be able to gain an advantage in front of it. The last time Zhao Feng fought with the terror claw bear, he experienced the feeling of being crushed. Hearing that Li Xian wanted to fight the terror claw bear head-on, Zhao Feng seemed to think that this guy was a little too proud. The 10,000-year-old soul beast has already developed intelligence, and that terror claw bear holds a grudge, so it must have smelled the scent of the 2 of you. We should hurry up and go to the outer area in the east to hunt soul beasts while it is still daylight. As he said that, Zhao Feng grabbed Li Xian's wrist and refused to let him go crazy no matter what. Uncle Zhao. Li Xian shook off the hand and said with a smile, if you are worried, please go back first. I have made my decision. The Devil's Claw Bear is very powerful. But he has already advanced to Soul Sect and has Dokai's soul power boost. Li Xian thought to himself that he had enough strength to deal with the dark gold terror claw bear. Zhao Feng frowned when he heard this. Master Ma and Dean Su asked me to take good care of you. I want to ensure the safety of you 2 little guys. But you can't tell the difference between the important and the unimportant. You will have to bear the consequences yourself. Even if we take a step back, Zhao Feng and Li Xian are not related at all. He has given good advice. In his opinion, Li Xian's behavior is nothing but stubbornness and self-righteousness. He only knows the pain after he suffers a loss. Therefore, his tone was quite harsh. I understand, Uncle Zhao, I appreciate your kindness, but I'm not a fool. Please go back without worry, I know how to deal with that guy. Saying, Li Xian raised his finger, and a whole set of silver battle armor floated out one after another, surrounding him, and was put on in the order of arms, chest, legs and feet, and finally head. Beside her, Uxi had a serious face as she also took out Doukai from the storage soul guide. Compared with Li Xian's Doukai, the dark purple Doukai lacks the heavy charm but has a kind of light and ethereal beauty. This is Zhao Feng, who saw Doukai for the first time. The whole person was stunned. Armor? No, that's the aura of a soul guide. I didn't expect these two little guys had such treasures on them. Zhao Feng had seen soul guides before, but this was the first time he had seen a soul guide worn on the body. And, the moment Li Xian and Uxi put on their battle armor, Zhao Feng immediately realized something was wrong. So strong a euro. The soul power of the two people increased rapidly. In just a breath, Li Xian's soul power surpassed his. Zhao Feng had the illusion that he was facing a soul emperor. How is it possible? He was deeply shocked. The feeling is not wrong, the soul power has indeed increased, but how can there be such a soul guide in the world? Just by wearing it, one can increase soul power by about 20 levels. Zhao Feng couldn't even imagine it. Li Xian, what are you wearing? Where did you get it from? For a moment, Zhao Feng felt curious. He even forgot about the dark gold terror claw bear approaching from a distance. As a soul king, after seeing Li Xian take out such a treasure, he actually felt envious in his heart. As for where I got the humanoid soul guide, I'm sorry. I can't tell you. With a clang, Li Xian's helmet and armor unfolded and covered his cheeks. From Zhao Feng's point of view, Li Xian's entire body was wrapped tightly in battle armor, with no part of his body exposed. The shape is like that of an alien creature, with a unique sense of mysterious oppression. Li Xian lowered his center of gravity and made a sprinting posture. He slowly clenched his fists, indicating that he had adjusted the strength of his body to the best. Uxi, stay aside. I'll go meet it first. Uxi put her hands behind her back and nodded gently, yes. Looking at the girl next to him who was also wearing armor, Zhao Feng's Adam's apple moved up and down. It is clear that he is only at the level of soul master, but his soul power is already catching up with him. After seeing this unique power, Zhao Feng had no intention of leaving at all. Standing there nervously and expectantly. We'll have to see how powerful this kid will become after putting on this weird soul guide. Moreover, can he kill the dark gold terror claw bear with 10,000 years of cultivation as he said, distance. The smell of fishy air wafts into my nose. After Li Xian rushed out 50 meters away, he released his soul power perception. A creature as big as a hill was rushing towards him from 100 meters away. The trees along the way were constantly crushed and broken. Major earthquake. Before the dark gold terror claw bear came close, its roar filled with endless anger reached Li Xian's eardrums, making his scalp numb. 4 soul rings floated out from under his feet, and within a few hundred meters, they were left behind by the terror claw bear in the blink of an eye. Roar. Next second. The dark gold terror claw bear, which was blind in one eye, stuck out its head as big as a water tank and squeezed between 2 tree trunks to come in front of Li Xian. Each of the 2 bear claws was the size of an adult male, and the length of the claws alone was nearly half a meter. Recognizing that Li Xian was the human who had escaped, the dark gold terror claw bear's eyes flashed with a fierce and bloody light. Swish. Standing upright, the Deinonychus twists its body. It raised its right paw at an extremely fast speed, and without thinking, it rushed directly towards Li Xian. The strongest attack from the dark gold terror claw bear, the king of the soul beast world. Possessing dragon blood, the bear's body is naturally strong, and its right claw embodies all its cultivation. It is said that a full-strength palm strike from a 10,000-year-old terror claw bear would seriously injure and kill even a soul saint. Be careful. Not far behind, Zhao Feng's eyes widened and his heart stopped in his throat. Judging from Li Xian's actions, he was planning to take it head-on. Is this kid crazy? Facing such a powerful soul beast, it is wisest to deal with him. Why would you, a control-type soul beast, go head-to-head with that guy? Li Xian. Uxi almost forgot to explain and wanted to rush out. Although I was nervous, I still chose to believe the latter. In fact, even if she rushed over now, it would be too late. The dark gold terror claw bear's attack was so fast that it raised its hand and created a gust of wind. A black shadow flashed, and its exaggerated right claw came to Li Xian's head like a dark cloud covering the sky. Bang! Immediately. There was a dull sound like rocks collapsing. Boom! The gravel under Li Xian's feet broke directly in the middle. With his hands raised above his head, half of Li Xian's body was embedded in the soil. A terrifying wave of energy exploded among the soul beasts and humans. The surrounding trees collapsed one after another. Not far away, Zhao Feng's face was shaking violently due to the impact of this wave of energy. This kid is too messy. Are you going to die? Zhao Feng's eyes were already wide open, almost popping out of their sockets. The dark gold terror claw bear, known as the natural king, used its strongest attack, but this kid with only soul sect cultivation actually resisted it. Zhao Feng had never seen such a crazy thing in his life. Chapter 84. The dark gold terror claw bear, which has cultivated for 10,000 years, has the strongest attack with anger. The impact broke out between humans and animals. Just feeling that terrifying wave made Zhao Feng's heart beat wildly. Oh my god! Even a soul sage would be turned into mud under this claw. But this kid. He actually caught it. Zhao Feng couldn't tell for a moment whether it was because of Li Xian's strong physical fitness or because the humanoid soul guide he was wearing had increased the amplification. In fact, for Li Xian, it is both. If your physique is not strong enough, wearing battle armor will be of no use. His body, strengthened by many immortal products and elixirs, is almost beyond the scope of humans, and those titled Douluo could hardly compare with him when they were young. Wow, that's powerful. Li Xian's body first embedded in the mud, then moved to the right for dozens of meters. Li Xian couldn't help but exclaim in admiration. The attack power of the dark gold terror claw bear was within expectations, but the explosive force still shocked him. It's really appetizing. Without Dokai's protection, his spine would have been broken. Without the support of his bones, his whole body would have melted like mud. But that's it. He is okay. Whoosh. His two calves exerted force like springs, and Li Xian's body disappeared from the pit, leaving behind a shadow. The silver battle armor was shining brightly, and in a breath, Li Xian's body rushed in front of the terror claw bear. He clenched his fists, and with his 1.7 meter height, he faced the exaggerated body of the Deinonychus bear, and punched it hard in the abdomen. Roar! The devil's claw bear didn't even have time to react before it was hit hard in the abdomen. Its thick hair and fat vibrated like a sponge, causing ripples all over its body. As the king of soul beasts, the terror claw bear not only has brute strength, its physical body has also almost reached an abnormal level. Although Li Xian did not use any soul skills in this punch, with the added strength of the battle armor, even a soul king would have to take his attack seriously. Bang! However, the Deinonychus bear only felt pain in its mouth, and its mountain-like body retreated half a step. Although the difference in size gave it brute strength, facing a short human like Li Xian, the attacks from its fists were like nails, making it grimace in pain. The terror claw bear was angry. The human race actually used brute force in front of it. This made it feel humiliated. With a roar that shook the world, the mane on the belly of the terror claw bear stood upside down, and Li Xian in front of it was thrown away. Immediately, its body emitted a dazzling golden light, and the soul power in its body increased dramatically, all condensing towards the area of the right claw. It has used the power of blood, get out of the way. Zhao Feng shouted from the back. Humans can generate soul skills by hunting soul beasts, and soul beasts also possess them. However, the soul skills of soul beasts come from their bloodline, which naturally determines their strength. When ordinary soul beasts practice for 10,000 years, their bloodline power will undergo a qualitative change, and they will also possess extremely powerful special powers, such as strength amplification, toxins, and mental attacks. It can even awaken some form-type soul skills that are the result of a qualitative change in soul power. Most soul beasts' soul skills are fixed by their bloodline. The dark gold terror claw bear's racial skill is released through its right claw, a skill that can split space, smash the heavens. Even a titled Douluo wouldn't be able to guarantee that he could completely resist a skill of that power. Zhao Feng knew clearly that even if Li Xian wore this battle armor, he would be destroyed by the innate skill of the terror claw bear. If he took this attack head-on, his life would be in danger. I asked you to accumulate strength, do you think I'm a fool? Li Xian adjusted his center of gravity in mid-air, the third soul ring under his feet glowed, and a layer of golden purple light instantly covered his body. Ensure your safety first, then fight back. He mobilized the first soul skill and the second skill of the third soul skill at the same time. In the blink of an eye, a swamp suddenly grew, curly grass shot out, and finally, a black cage broke out of the ground, trapping the 5-meter-tall terror claw bear inside. Roar! With an angry roar, the terror claw bear was first slowed down. As it struggled to tear off the vines that were constantly entangled around its body, its entire body was locked, and the gathering of its soul power was hindered. Bang! However, Li Xian's control soul skill is ultimately a minor skill and cannot pose a substantial threat to creatures such as the terror claw bear. In the blink of an eye, the negative effects and restraining abilities were all broken or eliminated. Laugh! The moment the terrifying body broke free, 3 rays of light flashed across the void and suddenly appeared in front of Li Xian. The speed is jaw-dropping. Time seemed to freeze at this moment, and the surrounding environment seemed to be slowed down. Only these 3 attacks broke through the void. Li Xian, who was moving slowly, had his lonely body covered by the 3 golden claw marks. Buzz! The next second, 3 attacks cut through his body and flew high into the sky. The space it passed through was rippled, and trees along the way were broken and turned into powder by the powerful attack. Heavy breathing came from the mouth of the terror claw bear. The scarlet eyes were fixed on Li Xian, who was floating in the air. Seems to have expressed doubt. Because Li Xian, who had transformed into a spirit, was not injured. His floating body reorganized and fell to the ground intact. It is the special skill generated by Qirong Tongtianjia through the third soul skill that makes him immune to physical damage. I admit that you are very fast. Li Xian sneered. It was reasonable for the terror claw bear to break through his soul skill in an instant, but the speed of that attack was beyond his expectations. It was too fast, he had almost no time to react. The soul beast that was born as a king was indeed dangerous and not something that ordinary people could deal with. Of course, this was also related to the hatred that the terror claw bear had for him. As soon as they met, it tried its best to kill him. Call. Not far away, Zhao Feng had not yet recovered from his shock. The moment he saw Li Xian being hit by the claws, he thought it was all over. What an amazing boy! Li Xian fell to the ground, crouching, and his armor made crisp sounds when his joints collided. It's my turn. The 4th soul skill flashed, and a white mist immediately surged out from the space under Li Xian's feet. Soon, the white substance engulfed everything around it. The terrifying claw in the center took a few steps back in panic. The moment it came into contact with the white mist, its animal instinct told it that this was dangerous. Hidden mist changes the surrounding humidity and heat to generate thick fog that blocks vision. The thick fog can create clones. After the target touches it, the soul power is reduced by 30. Li Xian muttered to himself that this was also the first time he used this kind of soul skill. Thick fog enveloped the forest in an instant, submerging the terror claw bear. Looking up, only the scarlet eyes flashing with vicious murderous intent in the fog were visible. Li Xian's fourth soul ring continued to flicker. I saw 4 pure white vines breaking out from the soil behind me like sharp blades, and then condensing into spiral drills. Li Xian made a stabbing motion with his right hand, and suddenly raised his hand, and the white vines behind him stabbed fiercely at the head of the terror claw bear. Chapter 85. In the thick white mist, 4 vines turned into sharp spikes, intertwining with each other at an extremely fast speed and piercing through the air towards the body of the terror claw bear. The fourth soul skill of the Qirong Tong Tianju, the fern technique, grows hard vines to strangle the victim. The vines are impervious to water and fire and have extremely strong piercing abilities. Li Xian, wearing battle armor, left an afterimage, causing the white vines behind him to suddenly riot. His concealing mist not only blocked his sight, but also concealed his breath very well after changing the humidity and temperature. Under the influence of his own soul skills, his figure was like a white ghost. Laugh. The light shines in the thick fog. Li Xian swooped in, thrusting forward with his right hand, and the fern and white vine pierced into the right chest of the dark gold terror claw bear like a hot knife through butter, breaking the skin and flesh and splashing a string of blood. Off. The killing move was aimed at the head, but the terror claw bear dodged it with its sharp instinct. But, caught off guard, although the terror claw bear avoided the heart, its right side was hit by this almost fatal soul skill. Despite its terrifying defensive power, the fern and white vine failed to penetrate its body, only penetrating 2 centimeters into the flesh and barely piercing the muscle due to the recoil. Let me see how hard you are. Li Xian snorted coldly, and his eyes, covered by Dokai's helmet, flashed with dazzling light. Keep going. The fern and white vine were spinning at an extremely high frequency. It was like a biological drill, stirring up the wound of the terror claw bear. It is true that the muscle density of the terror claw bear has reached an extremely high level, allowing it to withstand most fatal attacks. However, when this unscientific killing move appears, no matter how tough the muscles are, they are useless. Blood and flesh flew everywhere, and the wound on the right chest of the terror claw bear instantly became the size of a bowl. The high-speed spinning vine spikes broke through its tight flesh, pierced its lungs, and then pierced out from its rear scapula. Roar! A look of pain spread across the terror claw bear's face. As the fern thorns in its body were pulled out, the terror claw bear's ferocious face became even more ferocious. Li Xian's right arm fell off from the ferns and white vines, and he retreated a long distance away, hiding in the thick fog. The angry figure of the terror claw bear pounced into nothingness. Li Xian's reaction was naturally extremely quick, and even the attack just now was completed in the blink of an eye. After being severely injured, the dark gold terror claw bear went crazy in the forest, wreaking havoc everywhere, and deep pits appeared on the ground. The stricken trees were like foam in front of it, and a large amount of powder was flying in the air. Blood flowed from the wounds of the terror claw bear, soaking the hair on its chest that was like steel needles. The bloody smell seemed to have aroused the fighting desire of this soul beast, and the terror claw bear became more and more crazy. A swamp appeared under Li Xian's feet, and a gravity ring floated in the air. At the same time, he activated his third soul skill. In the blink of an eye, he used indiscriminate control skills in any direction. Black vines continued to grow from the ground, forming a cage in midair, enclosing the body of the terror claw bear and locking its limbs. Li Xian heavily sealed the injured right side of the terror claw bear. The black vines wrapped around the arm tightly. Moreover, the thorns of the vines spread inward along the bowl-sized wound. Although it was a control-type soul skill, Li Xian could control the vines to inflict secondary damage to the terror claw bear. This soul beast had been enraged, and the surging adrenaline made it unable to feel pain. The terror claw bear ignored the horrific wound on its chest and waved its left claw like crazy, cutting the black vines while reaching out its head to bite the vines on its body. The situation was out of control for a while. Li Xian was slightly stunned by this extremely crazy behavior. If it were any other soul beast, the first thing it would think of after being seriously injured would be to run away, right? Was it helpful? Since you like to go crazy, I will play with you to the end. The third soul skill, the Black Prison, does not consume too much soul power. No matter how hard the terror claw bear tries, it will never escape from its restraints. In Li Xian's sight, the vines can continue to grow, like asexual spores, and the growth rate is much faster than the destruction of the terror claw bear. The vines that imprison it from the outside are extremely tough, and the juice in the vine stems contains deadly toxins. When the terror claw bear destroys those black vines, the toxins flow quickly throughout the body along its exposed wounds, driven by the blood. Soon, the Deinonychus bear's strength gradually ran out, and its mountain-like body finally collapsed like a collapsing snow mountain, and it squatted on the ground, gasping for breath. There was murderous intent in his raised eyes, and he let out a low roar in the direction of Li Xian with his mouth wide open. There was murderous intent in his eyes. They want to tear the human race apart. They will fight to the death. Ha! I don't intend to let you go either. Li Xian activated his third soul skill to enter the spirit state. His fourth soul skill, Hidden Mist, is a continuous skill that can control a certain target. In other words, Zhao Feng and UXI on the outside can clearly see the situation inside, while the trapped terror claw bear can only stare at the space in front of it. Bear-like soul beasts have a keen sense of smell. Logically, even if they are blind, they can still determine the opponent's position through their sense of smell. But the special thing about Li Xian's soul skill is that it is not ordinary mist, but a control skill generated by changing the humidity and temperature of the air. In other words, the environment of this space has been changed by him, and the moisture carrying his scent has drifted to every place, and the terror claw bear cannot distinguish it at all. If the humidity of the air continues to increase, this area will become as heavy as the bottom of a lake, making it extremely difficult to move in it. Changing the temperature is even more incredible, it's possible to steam the body of the terror claw bear dry. However, the consumption of soul skills that amplify a very large range is also terrifying. Li Xian made a rough estimate that even if he used all his strength, he could only raise the temperature to 75 degrees, which was enough to burn the respiratory tract of a creature, but this would not cause the tenacious Deinonychus to completely lose its mobility. If he drains out his soul power, he will be the one in the passive position. On the contrary, this method of restricting the movements of the terror claw bear is the best way. Clone. With a light shout, Li Xian's eyes were as sharp as torches. I saw clones made of fog constantly appearing in all directions. It is not difficult to control the humidity in the air and condense clones, but these clones do not have combat power. He doesn't need to split himself into two to fight. Just confuse the judgment of this terror claw bear. Suddenly dozens of thick fog clones suddenly rioted and rushed towards the mad terror claw bear. Sensing the approaching breath, the nose of the terror claw bear moved slightly, and it turned around suddenly, dragging its injured arm to smash the vine cage, and then attacked those clones. The mist was destroyed and then reassembled in an instant. The weakness of the terror claw bear was revealed. Its cumbersome attack could not eliminate all enemies at once. His judgment was confused by the hidden fog, and he couldn't even tell which one was Li Xian's real body. In midair, Li Xian, in his spiritual state, raised his glowing left hand. Then, he suddenly swung his arm, and 3 claw marks made of light and shadow tore towards the terror claw bear. The bright left hand bone of the 10,000-year phantom. Cutting. Chapter 86. As a control-type soul master, Li Xian knew very well that delaying the battle would do him no good. The specialness of his ability is reflected in the later period. Although the 3rd and 4th soul rings have an age of nearly 10,000 years or 10,000 years, they are still not enough to deal with the soul beast like the terror claw bear, which is a natural king. Ahead, the dark gold terror claw bear dragged its tired body, and its huge left claw smashed the clones around it. Although the ferocity in his eyes was still there, he had lost the sharpness he had at the beginning. While attacking, its body was actually constantly retreating. The poison from the vines penetrated its brain, and its body was swaying due to dizziness. Laugh. At this moment, the claw marks launched by the golden sand wolf king's soul bone suddenly appeared without any warning. The scarlet pupils of the terror claw bear shrank, and just as it turned its head, 3 claw marks hit it firmly, and blood splattered from the deep wounds that could be seen through the bones. The devil's claw bear's mountain-like body was knocked back by the attack, and it was thrown 3 meters away and fell to the ground. Roar. Dragging its heavy and badly injured body, the terror claw bear collapsed to the ground, its breath rapidly fading. The wound on the right side of the chest was still bleeding, and 3 more wounds appeared on the abdomen. The white ribs were cut off and protruded from the wounds. As the adrenaline faded, severe pain hit its brain, and the dark gold terror claw bear lost all its strength and fell into a near-death state. Call. In the air, Li Xian took a deep breath and slowly fell down. Solved. Defeated this 10,000-year-old thorny soul beast. Although control skills did not pose a substantial threat to the beast, the attacks of soul bones were different. That is the innate blood power of the golden sand wolf king, and it is a pure strong attack skill. After the amplification of the spirit body by the 3rd soul skill and the blessing of Dokai's soul power, the power of that move was close to the full strength attack of a soul saint. The unguarded and injured terror claw bear naturally could not block this attack. The natural born king of the soul beast world? That's all. With only 10,000 years of cultivation, he is still some distance away from those top-notch ferocious beasts. Li Xian captured the terror claw bear without even getting hurt. Next, even a soul master can understand its life. It's incredible. The mist faded away, and Zhao Feng uttered an exclamation. Staring at the dying devil claw bear on the ground, the corner of his eyes trembled violently. You actually did it. The cultivation of soul master was able to defeat the terror claw bear that had cultivated for 10,000 years. This is incredible. Hehe. Li Xian untied the helmet, revealing his handsome face. His eyes were bright but his face was a little pale. It was not an easy victory for him, and he consumed a lot of energy. For him, this was not a crushing victory and he was not proud of it. Li Xian, you are amazing. Yuexi flew over and hugged one of Li Xian's arms. Yuexi took off her battle armor, exposing her skin, allowing the 2 people's soul power to blend, and slowly transferred some soul power to Li Xian. Restore this body that has just experienced a battle and overconsumed its soul power. Becoming more sensible. Li Xian muttered to himself. What are you going to do with this beast? Li Xian dealt with the terror claw bear alone. This kind of soul beast is full of treasures. As Li Xian's trophy, even though Zhao Feng was jealous, he had to ask Li Xian for his opinion. He turned his head and glanced at Uxi beside him. 13,000 years, do you want to try? Ah. Uxi frowned slightly, she was just a soul master. The maximum age limit for absorbing spirit rings is only 4,000 years, and she feels that she cannot do it. Li Xian looked at Zhao Feng again. The latter waved his hands repeatedly. Don't look at me, I've been stuck at level 54 for a long time, I don't have any spirit rings to use. I see. Li Xian nodded. It's a bit of a waste. You know, the body of the Devil's Claw Bear contains the blood of both dragons and behemoths. The spirit rings provided by this type of spirit beast can bring several times the improvement in the same number of years. If a strong attack Soul King were to absorb this kind of soul ring, the harvest would be unimaginable. Unfortunately, Li Xian can't use it either. He absorbed the spirit ring of the plant-type spirit beast growing in the yin-yang eyes of ice and fire, and was very satisfied with the 2 offensive spirit skills it brought him. Just kill it and see if there are any soul bones. Li Xian also made the decision based on his intuition. It is very easy for 10,000-year-old soul beasts to shed their soul bones, and soul beast bloodlines also increase this probability. Although most of the soul bones dropped by the Terror Claw Bear are defense-related, if you can get its right hand bone, you will make a fortune. The terrifying attack power of the Terror Claw Bear is reflected in its right hand, including the innate skill of the sky-tearing claw that comes from its bloodline. Li Xian's left hand already has the soul bone of the Golden Sand Wolf King. If he adds the soul bone of the Dark Gold Terror Claw Bear to his right hand, he will have 2 killing moves. Just thinking about it makes me happy. Then kill him. Zhao Feng agreed with this. Ever since the incident half a year ago, the Deinonychus Bear has developed an extreme hatred towards humans. He often roams around the periphery and attacks human spirit masters, and even the spirit masters in the spirit branch hall under his jurisdiction suffer casualties. Because it was difficult to hunt it, the Wuhan main hall had never sent anyone to deal with it. Zhao Feng was so happy that Li Xian was able to deal with it. Can I help you? Yuexi raised her bright big eyes and asked innocently. Okay, go ahead. Li Xian rubbed Yuexi's head. The Terror Claw Bear had lost its ability to resist, and the toxins in its body had caused it to faint. Let Yuexi go and see how lucky this girl is. The right hand bone is an external soul bone and needs to be participated in the killing before it can be absorbed. If a soul bone explodes, and it is not the right hand bone, or an external soul bone in other parts of the body, then Li Xian plans to give it to Yuexi. Good. Yuexi, who volunteered, cheered herself up and bit her lips lightly as she moved closer to the Deinonychus Bear in front of her. She did not yet have the skill to attack directly, so she took out the soul guiding dagger that Li Xian had made for her and poured her soul power into it. The daggers were like spreading a pair of wings. The volume suddenly increases. Li Xian urged the black vines to wrap around Yuexi's waist to prevent the dying Terror Claw Bear from rioting. Although Yuexi is unlikely to get hurt with Doukai around, it's always better to be careful. Laugh. There were no surprises during the process. Yuexi held the dagger upside down, stabbed it into the Terror Claw Bear's head, then pulled it out and stabbed it into the heart. The Terror Claw Bear, which had been knocked down by the poison, lost its life in a coma. Yuexi pulled out the dagger and stepped back a few steps out of fear. She was actually a little scared. She had seen the ferocity of this soul beast before. Fortunately, the operation went smoothly. Yuexi breathed a sigh of relief when she saw a dark soul ring floating out of the body of the Terror Claw Bear. He turned his head and looked at Li Xian as if seeking encouragement, and raised his right fist in a gesture of victory. Very nice. Li Xian smiled slightly. After all, Yuexi is only 7 years old, and it is remarkable that she has such courage. Do you have soul bones? Zhao Feng's eyes were as big as copper bells, even though any spoils from the Terror Claw Bear had nothing to do with him. However, he ran over as if he couldn't hide his excitement. His reckless behavior also instantly made the calm image of him in Li Xian's mind disappear. Li Xian was speechless. Even the Soul King couldn't sit still in the face of interests. His favorable impression of Zhao Feng decreased and his vigilance increased. As the saying goes, an innocent man is guilty of possessing a treasure. Zhao Feng and he were only acquaintances, and they had not yet reached the point of complete trust. In front, as the 10,000-year-old Dark Gold Terror Claw Bear was killed, its lifelong cultivation turned into a soul ring and floated out. At the same time, a light flashed in its chest, and the bright light immediately attracted Li Xian's attention. Sure enough, there is a soul bone. Li Xian was slightly surprised. The probability of this kind of soul beast dropping soul bones did not disappoint him. He got ahead of Zhao Feng and came to Yuexi's side. He looked at the glowing chest of the Terror Claw Bear and urged his soul power to cut it. Open. Chapter 87. The nobleness of a soul beast's bloodline determines its strength. Therefore, some powerful soul beasts have a very high probability of producing soul bones in their bodies. Li Xian approached the corpse of the Terror Claw Bear, urged his soul power to throw its body away, and then dug out a glowing sternum from the corpse. Looking at the sternum, Zhao Guang next to him showed envy in his eyes. It's a trunk bone, and it was produced by a dark gold Terror Claw Bear that has cultivated for 10,000 years. You've made a fortune. There are a total of 6 soul bones that human soul masters can absorb. Apart from the limbs and head, the other part is the torso bone. If this soul bone is integrated into the body, the bones in the upper body will be strengthened, and a soul skill can be obtained from the soul bone. In the world of soul masters, the value of soul bones is too high. Even though this soul bone has only been cultivated for 10,000 years, it came from a Terror Claw Bear, and is the torso bone whose strength is second only to the head. If this soul bone were released into the outside world, it would surely drive the soul master crazy. Zhao Feng's dry laugh did not conceal the heat in his eyes. Good baby. Who wouldn't want to have one? Li Xian had a calm expression. He nodded and withdrew his vigilant glance from Zhao Feng. Yuexi, I'll give you this soul bone. Give me. After a moment's pause, Yuexi's silly look looked very cute. But, this is what you hunted, how can I accept it? Because she knew the value of the soul bone, Yuexi did not dare to accept it. As a soul master, strength is what everyone pursues. Who would dislike having an extra soul bone? Okay. Li Xian reluctantly put the soul bone into the soul guide device. Then, he put the body of the terror claw bear on the ground into his pocket. There was nothing in front of him, not even a single hair of the terror claw bear was left. Zhao Feng opened his mouth but didn't say much. However, his eyes were looking at the storage soul guide ring in Li Xian's hand, and a barely perceptible gleam flashed in the depths of his eyes. Li Xian pretended not to see it, and then held Yuexi's wrist to continue recovering his soul power. In fact, he intended to give the soul bone to Yuexi, but if Zhao Feng saw the soul bone on Yuexi, it would bring her danger invisibly. So Li Xian put it away himself. Even if Zhao Feng has evil intentions and is eyeing this soul bone, he will not secretly attack Yuexi in the future. Soul bones do not disappear after being refined. As long as the soul master who absorbed the soul bones is killed, the soul bones will fall off again. In just a short while, Li Xian's trust in Zhao Feng completely collapsed. In front of precious things, everyone would be tempted. Especially the Soul King whose soul power is trapped in shackles and has no hope of breaking through in his lifetime. Bang! Just as I thought of this, suddenly, a black shadow rose from the ground 1,000 meters away, and then fell heavily to the ground. The earth shook along with the black shadow. What's wrong? Zhao Feng's expression changed. His intuition told him that an inexplicable oppression was approaching. And there's a terror claw bear. Li Xian murmured to himself, looked into the distance, and his brows couldn't help but frown. By using the purple demon pupil, one can clearly see the situation even at a distance of several kilometers. For ordinary people and soul masters below the level of soul saint, the maximum visual range is only 1000 meters when visibility is extremely high. Of course, the sight here refers to the situation where one can distinguish. If it was just a fuzzy black dot, the normal human vision would only be 2 to 3 kilometers, but Li Xian could see scenes 50 kilometers away. At this moment, Li Xian saw a Deinonychus bear with a body size of more than 10 meters, jumping towards him from a distance at an extremely fast speed. At first it was still more than 10 kilometers away, but in a short while, it was only 2 kilometers away. What? There's another terror claw bear. Hearing Li Xian's words, Zhao Feng's face was filled with fear. It's bad. The death of this female devil's claw bear was sensed by another devil's claw bear. Li Xian turned his body to face the direction of the terror claw bear. Buzz. The battle armor unfolded, covering the face. Then, he reached out for Yuexi's little hand and gently held it in his palm. Looking up doubtfully, Yuexi's big eyes were filled with inquiry. Aren't you going to run away, Li Xian? Try it with me. You mean, another fusion? Li Xian smiled slightly, revealing a mysterious expression. These days, he and Yuexi stayed together to build Dokai, and tried to use King's Yuxianyuvine to fuse their martial souls, and the result was naturally successful. However, I was worried that the fusion technique would cause damage to the house, so I never used it. I'll listen to you. Yuexi pursed her lips slightly and put on the battle armor. Through the battle armor, the soul powers of the two people merged outside the body, and an extremely yin attribute flowed out. Zhao Feng, who was standing nearby and staring, seemed like a different person. He no longer had the calmness and composure he had before. He cursed in his heart, thinking that Li Xian was completely crazy. The terror claw bear that ran over had at least 30,000 years of cultivation. Still thinking of going head-on? Madman. Zhao Feng's eyes turned ruthless, and he simply abandoned the two of them and turned to flee. Just now he was worried about being caught up if they ran together, but now he no longer thinks so. Since Li Xian is stubborn, it's just a good opportunity to delay a little longer. As long as he can survive. A 30,000-year-old male terror claw bear. Even Contra dares not provoke it. How can we have the confidence to fight it? Zhao Feng sneered in his heart, urged the soul power in his body, and ran 100 meters away in the blink of an eye. He doesn't want to die with Li Xian. He promised Machino to help the two little guys get spirit rings, but this was not included. Zhao Feng didn't feel the slightest bit of guilt. He didn't kill the female terror claw bear anyway, so even if something happened to this little guy, it couldn't be blamed on him. Uncle Zhao is gone. Yuexi looked at Zhao Feng who disappeared behind her, her voice hesitant. Never mind him. Li Xian took a deep breath and adjusted his strength to its peak. He didn't feel anything about Zhao Feng's actions. After all, he is the one who is staying, so he is naturally responsible for his reckless behavior. But then again, Li Xian didn't think he was taking any risks. At this moment, another terror claw bear is approaching. Through this guy, he can just test the power of his and Yuexi's spirit fusion technique. Moreover, even if he was no match for the terror claw bear, Li Xian could use his third soul skill to take Yuexi away from here. Not to mention the hidden weapon sleeve crossbow made of 100 forged metal in his storage ring. With this trump card in hand, Li Xian doesn't need to worry about any accidents unless he is besieged by several ferocious beasts. It's coming. Another terror claw bear came over, smelling the scent of death of its own kind. Its purpose is obvious. The 10-meter tall body smashed in front of the two people like a giant cannonball, and its golden pupils burst into light. The Deinonychus bear bared its half-meter-long canine teeth, raised its palm and slapped the two people. It had already smelled the scent of its own race on the two people. So, without any nonsense, he slapped the ground with his palm, and with the ground more than 2 meters deep, the forest as big as a small building was raised up. Roar. A roar. The vibrating air was distorted. Chapter 88. Soul beasts are different from humans. When facing an enemy, their moves are killing moves. Although some soul beasts have the evil pleasure of playing with their prey while hunting, the devil's claw bear, which has awakened its spiritual intelligence, would never have such an idea. The dark gold claw slashed past, and a deep pit suddenly appeared under the feet of Li Xian and the other man as they dodged. The speed was so fast that there was even smoke coming out of the pit. Well done. Li Xian didn't intend to waste time. In such a place, what danger will happen next? Releasing his martial soul, Li Xian's body turned into light and merged with Uxi. In midair, a strange spirit in the shape of a cross appeared. Like black eyes opened in space. About 10 meters long, the width is also more than 5 meters. The light in the world suddenly dimmed, the temperature dropped rapidly, the extreme yin caused a layer of deathly aura to cover the surroundings, and terrifying fluctuations were released from the eyes. That was another martial soul fusion skill of the two, and it was a form of maintaining the skill. It is not the kind of single-unit amplification that occurs after the fusion with villain. Because the fusion of martial souls is too perfect, both of their martial soul fusion techniques exist in the form of skills. Suddenly, a fierce wind blew. The dark gold terror claw bear sensed the danger and attacked without any moral principles. I saw an arm passing through the eyes, 3 claw marks flew into the distance, and the ground sank 3 layers. The terror claw bear staggered, and its palm hit nothing. Roar. He opened his huge canine mouth and let out a low, hoarse roar. The devil's claw bear's spiritual golden eyes flickered, and it actually took a few steps back. Its attack was ineffective. Obviously, he recognized that this was a fusion technique. The devil's claw bear has been practicing for nearly 40,000 years and its IQ is no less than that of humans. When it sees danger, it instinctively wants to escape. Smart beast, you want to run away now, right? In the spirit body, Li Xian sneered. It took only a moment for this terror claw bear to appear and conduct the test. It acted very quickly. When they find that attacking is useless, they just want to escape. This is not much different from humans. However, since he had used the fusion technique, how could Li Xian let it go? The moment their martial souls merged, his power merged with Uxi's, and his terrifying killing moves could be released through his eyes at any time. The Qirong Tongtian chrysanthemum merged with the phantom to form the sky star that seals all things, and after the Qingxiu crescent vine merged with the phantom, it became its current form. Li Xian called it the Dark Core. The reason for this name is because all I saw was black light piercing out from the eyes, covering a large area of a euro forest and dyeing the whole world black. The terrifying soul skill fluctuations actually burst out with a high-frequency sound wave. The next second, the devil's claw bear, which was being stared at by the eyes, suddenly stopped moving and began to twist towards the middle. First the head, then the left arm and both legs, all rotated counterclockwise towards the abdomen. The space seemed like a twisting whirlpool that was about to submerge it. Roar. The dark gold terror claw bear in front of me is angry. Let out a terrified roar. It felt no pain, but had a premonition of death. Thinking of this, the dark gold terror claw bear roared, and the blood in its body flowed out through its hair. The steaming blood wrapped around its body, and in the blink of an eye it turned into a blood bear. The soul power of soul beasts is different from that of humans. Their cultivation is stored inside their bodies, so when this kind of blood essence is exposed, it is like they are burning their soul power. Boom. The space vibrates. In the fight with the Earth's core, there was a sound of breaking in the air. Black lines spread along the core of the Earth, and the plants that were contaminated instantly fell apart. It was as if they were frozen and then hit by a heavy hammer, and they actually made a series of crisp sounds. Hard enough. During the martial soul fusion technique, Li Xian secretly thought that something was wrong. This was the first time he released this spirit skill, and he was not sure about its specific power, so he wanted to accumulate power for a while. However, just this short moment gave the terror claw bear a chance to catch its breath. As a natural king in the soul beast world with a cultivation base of more than 30,000 years, this terror claw bear can almost challenge the titled Douluo. Even most of the contras are no match for it. Therefore, facing its dying counterattack, Li Xian and Uxi were unable to completely suppress it for a while. There was a loud buzz sound. Next second, the distorted space in front of him completely disappeared. The dark gold terror claw bear's body was sucked away, and a second before the soul skill was released, it broke free. Half of its body was swallowed up by the soul skill, and its calf and right hand turned into blood and disappeared. Next, a large amount of light poured into the space. Li Xian and Uxi, in their spiritual state, separated from the Earth's core and fell down as 2 rays of light. The terror claw bear escaped. A series of gradually decreasing vibrations could be clearly heard in the distance. It was the strange noise caused by the Deinonychus bear's leap. There was a pool of soul beast's blood on the ground, and a crystal object fell. Li Xian, who had recovered his body, immediately noticed this. Phew, I'm so tired. Lying on the ground, Uxi's chest heaved. She almost fell into a coma after the last fusion of her martial souls, and although the situation was better this time, she still felt that her soul power was almost drained. Looking at Li Xian who was still able to move, Uxi couldn't help but sigh in her heart that there was still a big gap between her and Li Xian. It's a soul bone. Not far away, after picking up a palm-sized soul bone from the blood, Li Xian's eyes lit up and he grinned excitedly. The soul bone exploded, and it was the external soul bone of the right claw. 30,000-year-old dark gold terror claw bear right metacarpal bone, just thinking about it makes me excited. Presumably, the terror claw bear's bloodline has been awakened. After its body was damaged, its soul bone fell out of its body and shrunk to its current size. Some soul beasts have a very high chance of dropping soul bones after death. Li Xian was not too surprised. After all, the conditions for this kind of soul bone to explode are very high. It is something only a fool would do to provoke a dark gold terror claw bear with more than 30,000 years of cultivation just for the sake of uncertain factors. There are only about 20 titled Douluo in the Douluo Continent today. With strength reaching this level, everyone has his own pride. Who would team up for something like this? It is impossible to completely defeat the terror claw bear alone. Therefore, few people are willing to enter the Star Do Great Forest to hunt, knowing that these soul beasts with extremely high bloodlines may reveal soul bones. There is another reason. After soul beasts have existed for more than 10,000 years, they have an innate xenophobia towards humans. Li Xian was targeted by a terror claw bear at the outskirts of the Xingda Great Forest. Generally speaking, terror claw bears live inside the forest. If you break into the inner territory, you will be besieged by a group of soul beasts. Li Xian didn't think he was lucky. If you don't have the strength, you will definitely die if you are targeted by the terror claw bear. So, the fact that he was able to obtain the right hand bone of the devil's claw bear was also related to the strength of him and Uxi. When Li Xian returned to Uxi, he was in a very good mood. He stretched out his hand, bent down and pulled Uxi up from the ground. Boom! Uxi leaped forward with the force and threw herself into Li Xian's arms, with her legs bent backwards and hanging around his neck like a pendant. If it weren't for the battle armor, Li Xian would have been inevitably hit and coughed slightly. We won. That's great. Uxi was as happy as a silly roe deer. As long as Li Xian was there, she felt that nothing in the world was difficult. If outsiders knew about their achievements, they would definitely be shocked. They defeated both terror claw bears. That's good. Let's take a break and go hunt the ghost tiger. By the way, this soul bone is for you. Li Xian took out the sternum of the 10,000-year-old terror claw bear from the soul guide, quietly adjusted the age, and gave it to Uxi. His body was strong enough, so he didn't need anything like this for the time being. It just so happened that the terror claw bear's crucial right claw soul bone was also available, so this soul bone was given to Uxi. The stronger the body of a spirit master of the agility attack type is, the lower the chance of getting injured will be. The last thing Li Xian wanted to see was Uxi getting hurt. Chapter 89. Next, Li Xian took Uxi to look for a suitable soul beast in the Xingda Great Forest. The best one would be a ghost tiger with a cultivation base of nearly 4,000 years. Of course, ones that are about 1,000 years old can also be used. In the face of Li Xian's more stable ability, these are not important. After a morning of searching, Li Xian finally found a ghost tiger resting in a jungle. When they broke into its territory, the soul beast actually took the initiative to attack, scaring the two of them. Although it is called a ghost tiger, it actually has the blood of a cheetah. It has a slender body, a long black tail, and a pair of eyes like clear yellow lamps. Soul beasts have a sense of territory, and this is especially true for soul beasts that have cultivated for more than 1,000 years. The two men's aimless search was seen as an invasion in the eyes of the ghost tiger. The moment of fighting, Li Xian was knocked down by the ghost tiger and his body slid backwards along the ground. Wearing battle armor, Li Xian was not injured. Looking at the ghost tiger's head close at hand, Li Xian grabbed the two front hooves of the soul beast with his backhand, fearing that it would escape. Li Xian's attention was just focused on the distant area, and the resting ghost tiger seemed to be in the dark and escaped his perception. Li Xian, who was attacked, was not angry but happy. He grabbed the ghost tiger and pressed it to the ground and rubbed it. This 1,000-year-old ghost tiger is more than 3 meters tall. Even though Li Xian used all his strength, it still struggled on the ground and was almost thrown out. Uxi ran over holding the hidden arrow given by Li Xian, pressed the trigger with both hands, stared at the bull's eye of the crossbow and moved it back and forth, aiming at the man and the tiger on the ground. With a whoosh, crossbow launcher. A cold light flashed, and the crossbow arrow sank into the ground, brushing past Li Xian's scalp. Tsukyu. You. Almost shot to death by this girl, Li Xian gave up his playful intentions. 4 soul rings containing terrifying auras appeared around the body. The first and second soul rings flashed in succession, and the ghost tiger in front of him was pressed into the swamp, and then tied up into a dumpling by the curlew grass. Standing up and clapping his hands, Li Xian Yuexi quickly made the final move. Just now I had a sudden impulse and competed with this ghost tiger for a while. If we really want to take action, the 1,000-year-old ghost tiger is not enough. The ghost tiger was killed by the dagger, and a purple soul ring floated out of its body. Li Xian looked at the color of the soul ring and deduced the actual cultivation level of this ghost tiger. Probably between 2,000 and 2,800 years. That's about enough. Then, he stayed by Yuexi's side and helped her absorb the spirit ring. Counting the soul ring in front of her, Uxi now has 3,000-year soul rings, and Li Xian has already helped her change the first 2 soul rings. Half an hour later, looking at Uxi who had just woken up, Li Xian silently changed the age of her 3 soul rings. In the blink of an eye, the surface of Uxi's skin was covered with layers of dark luster, and her soul power increased rapidly, and soon soared to level 35. Wu Yuexi's eyes widened slightly. Li Xian did this to her before the winter vacation, and she was naturally happy about the improvement of her soul power. With Doukai's blessing, this body can withstand more cultivation. Therefore, even if the 3 soul rings are fixed, Yuexi's body does not show any abnormalities. Get up, and activate your martial spirit for me to see. Li Xian rubbed Yuexi's little head. The soul power increased by the soul ring will not cause the realm to float, but the phantom martial soul will awaken consciousness as Yuexi's soul power increases. Li Xian realized this when his martial souls were merging today. Phantom is an evil martial spirit after all. Although Yuexi has been protected by herself and nothing unusual has happened to her, she still has to be careful. Oh. Nodding, Yuexi, wearing battle armor, stood up and raised his hand. A graceful figure made of black gauze slowly turned in the palm of her hand. The dark face now had facial features, and her appearance was somewhat similar to Yuexi's. The 2 eyes are like a dark whirlpool, and one look at them will give you the illusion of being trapped in it. As Yuexi released his martial spirit, Phantom looked around curiously as if he had seen the light of day. He looked at Li Xian intentionally with his head tilted, as if observing him. Take a deep breath silently in your heart. Li Xian's brows couldn't help but wrinkle. It seems that Phantom already has self-awareness. According to Zhao Feng, when Yuexi becomes a soul king, this kind of martial soul can even fight outside the body. Although he had thought about whether the out-of-body Phantom could merge with his own martial soul to generate new soul skills, this idea was very dangerous. As the root of soul master's cultivation, the martial soul's existence is just a tool. If the martial soul has self-awareness, it will become a very thorny problem. You can't tell how strong the spirit's consciousness is. Yu Xiaogong's martial soul can summon a kind of creature. There is nothing special about the martial soul that he uses. Yuexi's phantom martial soul is an evil creature. There are certain risks if we let her grow up. Unfortunately, Li Xian doesn't have a better solution at the moment. Li Xian raised his right hand, activated the soul power of the Qirong Tong Dianju, and touched the phantom in Yuexi's palm. Suddenly the phantom's body dissipated and scattered in fear, but after a moment it reassembled itself and showed fear of Li Xian. Put it away. Li Xian withdrew his soul power, knowing what was going on. The phantom was afraid of the aura of light in his body, and his soul power was still able to suppress the phantom's body. Yuexi nodded slightly. When she was fighting, she needed to release the phantom martial soul and attach it to her body. After noticing that the phantom had developed self-awareness, Yuexi became a little worried. Absorb the soul bone given to you now. I will protect you. Is it right here? Well, the dark gold terror claw bear has dark attributes, which is very suitable for you. Good. Next, Yuexi began to refine the torso bones of the dark gold terror claw bear that had been cultivated for 10,000 years. She looked excited. Yuexi never thought that she would one day come into contact with a treasure like soul bone. Although this item was given by Li Xian, Yuexi was used to this kind of pampering. Since Li Xian gave it to her, she would just keep it. Standing next to Yuexi, Li Xian's soul power perception spread out in all directions. He had also had the experience of fusing spirit bones. No matter how old the spirit bones were, for spirit masters, there were only benefits and no harm, and there was no problem of being unable to bear it. Therefore, Li Xian was not too worried. The soul bone dropped by the terror claw bear belongs to the torso. Generally speaking, the soul bones dropped by this type of soul beast, except for the right claw, are all related to defense. The defensive ability of the trunk bones is the greatest among them. In addition, the trace of extremely yin power possessed by the terror claw bear perfectly matches Yuexi's martial soul. Li Xian can hardly predict how much improvement this soul bone can bring. Of course, no matter what, defense is still the most important. About 2/4 of an hour later, a wave of increased soul power emanated from Yuexi's body. Up 2 levels, hey. Li Xian was slightly surprised, because when he absorbed the left claw bone of the Golden Sand Wolf King, he did not get such a big improvement. Yuexi opened her lips gently, feeling as if she had endless energy in her body. He exerted force with his feet and jumped up from the ground like a rabbit, then threw himself into Li Xian's arms. How is it, did the soul skill appear? Li Xian was ready this time. He was not caught off guard by Yuexi's sudden attack. I have the soul skills, but don't you think I've grown a little taller? Yuexi's eyes were curved. After she said this, Li Xian suddenly realized that after Yuexi absorbed the soul bone in her torso, her body had grown at least 8 centimeters longer and had reached the tip of his chin. The little brat has turned into a little loli. It's amazing. Strange mumbling in my mind. Li Xian suddenly realized that he seemed to have some kind of developmental achievement in his relationship with Yuexi. Of course, he has grown taller, but he still hasn't developed much and is still just a little kid. Chapter 90. Are you laughing at me? Yuexi seemed to understand the meaning in Li Xian's eyes. She pouts in dissatisfaction. No way, stop talking nonsense. What soul skills does the soul bone provide you with? Tell me quickly. Li Xian put Yuexi down from his arms. I haven't accepted the fact that my daughter has grown taller yet. In the past, when they were practicing dual cultivation together, Yuexi could only reach his brows, but now, that feeling seemed to be gone. With both feet landing on the ground, Yuexi tried to mobilize the power in her body, and then a purple glow enveloped her body. Her twin ponytails grew wildly, and her face suddenly took on a savage and fierce look. Her big eyes were infected by the blood of the terror claw bear and turned into a pair of golden lamps, and her canine teeth were exposed beyond her red lips. Looks pretty fierce. Li Xian felt inexplicably funny. If this change happened to another person, he would just say it was ugly. And Yuxi's cute face didn't seem to be wrong even though it became furious due to the infection of the terror claw bear. On the contrary, Uxi in this irritable state possesses a contrasting beauty. Li Xian reached out and touched her floating ponytail, gently raising his eyebrows. Can your hair move, or is this a kind of amplification skill? Wait a minute, let me look in the mirror first. Yuxi took out a mirror from somewhere and held it in front of her face to look at the mirror. Upon seeing this, his brows immediately frowned. It doesn't look good anymore, Li Xian. A good kid will look in the mirror after using his soul skills. You are amazing. My strength and defense have increased. Touch my skin. It has become harder, right? While Yuxi was speaking, her ponytail, which was held by Li Xian, struggled mischievously. Li Xian couldn't help but suspect that Uxi had other abilities. After letting go of his hand, Li Xian didn't feel the changes in Yuxi's skin, but directly pinched her little face. No, soft. Yuxi suddenly burst into dissatisfaction, puffing her cheeks and looking at Li Xian with resentment. In this case, it's hard. Li Xian said this while looking at the cute little face that was puffed up like a toad. I'm just kidding. Keep up the pace. It's time for the test. Li Xian rubbed Yuxi's head. The trunk bones of the terror claw bear itself provide defense, and this mutated soul skill also adds a continuous increase in power, which can be said to kill two birds with one stone. As for the ghost tiger soul ring, it provides a kind of sprint attack. Uxi has already acquired several key skills such as body movement, speed, clone, and strong attack, plus the amplification status of soul bones. Her power is already quite comprehensive. Just as Li Xian had expected, all that needed to be done next was to continue helping Uxi increase her speed. As a spirit master of the agility attack type, she has absolutely no shortcomings in her development. Good. Yuxi won't be really angry. She looked at Li Xian indignantly for a moment, then smiled sweetly. The two left the forest hand in hand. After getting the spirit ring, there is not much point in staying here any longer. Go home directly? Do you want to tell Uncle Zhao? No, I didn't ask him for help this time, and the favor has been settled. Yesterday, when Li Xian met Zhao Feng, he gave him a 9th grade purple Ganoderma. In view of Zhao Feng's generous help half a year ago, Li Xian did not forget this favor. Today, Zhao Feng's performance disappointed Li Xian. As a soul king, his true nature was exposed in the face of interests. The previous friendship also came to an end here, and I will have no contact with him anymore. 2 days passed. Li Xian took Yuxi back to Nottingham. He first found Machino and told him what had happened in the past few days, and then returned to the academy and resumed his normal studies. Speaking of which, the two of them haven't attended a single class in more than a month since school started. I suddenly returned to college and I couldn't get used to it in such a short time. Li Xian used his real identity to re-participate in the Wuhan Hall's disciple competition. The team formation with Yuxi was interrupted, and the two had to re-participate in the competition 3 times. With the help of Mathono, the dates of the 3 games were determined as early as possible. Before this, due to his and Uxi's age, they were not able to gain any advantage when facing a group of soul masters who were around 20 years old. And now, Li Xian is a level 42 control soul master, and Uxi is a level 37 agility attack soul master. This combination has few rivals in the entire Douluo Continent. In their eyes, the game is more like a formality. As for the final reward, there is almost no competitive pressure. After all, in the next few years, he and Uxi will continue to grow, and when it comes to the finals, it is possible that Li Xian will become a soul king. Not to mention, there is also the trump card of Dokai. Therefore, Li Xian is more inclined towards the production of soul guides in his current cultivation plan. If you want to upgrade from 100 forging to 1000 forging, you need to devote your mind and energy to polishing your soul power. This is different from soul power, and Yuxi can't help you. The soul power can be slowed down, and Li Xian is not under any urgent pressure to improve it now. But the battle armor is his unique ability. Li Xian therefore paid more attention to it. This day. It has been a week since I returned to the academy. After refining the right hand bone of the terror claw bear, Li Xian and Uxi both restored their bodies to their peak condition. It was noon. As the referee called out their names, the two holding hands walked onto the stage in front of the Wuhan Hall in Notting City. Participate in a 2v2 battle. Therefore, there are also 2 opponents. But the interesting thing is that the opponents are also a man and a woman, and judging from their names, they are most likely siblings. After the names were determined, the referee ordered the game to begin. Crack. Snapping his fingers, the male soul master couldn't help but show a hint of mockery on his face when he saw that his opponent was just a child. He is already 20 years old and has 21 soul powers. This level may not be enough in the provincial capital, but it is definitely enough in a small place like Nottingham. Where did you come from, little brat? We won't hold back when we attack you. We advise you to surrender. Puff. Yuxi glanced at Li Xian and sneered. This expression of hers immediately aroused the dissatisfaction of the rival female soul master. Are you laughing at us? Do you want to die? Li Xian shook his head, stop talking nonsense, and start fighting. As he spoke, 4 soul rings, 2 yellow and 2 purple, floated out from under his feet. The aura belonging to the soul sect was released without any concealment, and there was a bit more fighting spirit in his raised eyes. Even against this kind of opponent, nor will I underestimate the enemy. Giving your all is also a way of showing respect to others. Fourth ring. Wait. How come you are a soul sect? The male soul master was dumbfounded. A breath of cold air came out of my mouth. He didn't hear what the referee said just now, and he thought these two brats were only at level 10. But, how is this possible? Are you still going to fight? Li Xian asked impatiently. The female spirit master gritted her teeth and pointed angrily, you didn't hide your age in order to help that girl advance, did you? She didn't believe that a 7-year-old child could have the cultivation level of a soul sect. This completely shattered her worldview. You know, this kind of cultivation is considered top-notch strength in many families. Only a soul master of her father's age could reach this level. The female soul master instinctively thought that Li Xian lied about his age. What a rich imagination. Shaking his head speechlessly, Li Xian Yuexi released his martial soul. Uxi responded immediately, and as the phantom martial soul was released, 3 purple soul rings floated out. She did not learn Li Xian's method of hiding the soul rings, but displayed her truest strength. But it doesn't matter if you don't let it go. The moment when 3 purple soul rings appeared, the 2 people on the opposite side were petrified. Still thinking that Li Xian's cultivation level is not right, and that girl also has the cultivation level of soul venerable. Also, what's up with these spirit rings? They're all purple. The female soul master took a few steps back, her face pale with fear. Not only him, but the male soul masters around him were also stunned and had no desire to fight at all. That's ridiculous. 3 soul rings from the previous year. Is this still a knockout round? Why do I meet monsters here? They retreated and retreated until they left the ring. It was impossible to fake the spirit rings. This match couldn't be won, right? They just gave up. The referee on the side hadn't reacted yet. He only heard Machino say that he would take good care of the 2 little guys, but he didn't expect Li Xian and Yuexi to be so perverted. A 7-year-old soul master and soul venerable? Is he still asleep? Uncle, we won, right? Please announce the result. Li Xian beside him urged silently. I was thinking of stretching my muscles through competition, but obviously I don't have that opportunity anymore. That kind of opportunity can only be had in the Wuhan arena. The middle-aged referee immediately nodded after realizing what was happening. Oh. Okay. The match is over. Li Xian and Uxi win. The moment I heard the result, Li Xian took Yuexi directly off the stage. I still want to try out new soul skills. Yuexi was also a little helpless. There will be a chance. Li Xian doesn't want his next opponent to be of this kind. Although it is difficult to meet an opponent who can compete with him and Yuexi, there is no point in crushing them all the way. Here, Li Xian, who had just stepped off the stage, was suddenly stunned. He saw a familiar figure holding a black umbrella in the audience, staring at him in astonishment with eyes wide open. The tender white little hand was raised, and amid a burst of you, the lowly's tone began to rise. Your name is Miles, oh my god, how did you become a soul sect? A girl named Kenyo appeared here for some reason and recognized Li Xian's identity. After a brief silence, Li Xian's face darkened. The big hand expanded in front of Kenyo, covered her little mouth with one hand, and then carried her and Yuexi away from the arena. Chapter 91. Inside a high-end restaurant in Nottingham City, Li Xian ordered a table full of dishes and invited Kenyo to eat as much as he could in order to shut the girl up. Kenyo spread out a pancake and rolled up a portion of shredded pork with Beijing sauce, put it in his mouth, and gave Li Xian a thumbs up. You win, I promise I won't say anything. She loves to take advantage of this weakness. He was completely controlled by Li Xian. Uxi snuggled up to Li Xian and whispered, how do you know she likes to eat? Li Xian smiled mysteriously. How many teenage girls are not greedy? If she is not interested in food, then she must be very playful. Running to the spirit hall to watch battles all day long just proves that Kenyo has a lively and outgoing personality. Eating, drinking and having fun can control most of these girls. If it really doesn't work, Li Xian still has a soul guide as hush money. In short, it couldn't be easier to shut her up. But, can you tell me why you upgraded so quickly? The last time I saw you, you were just a great soul master. Kenyo stared at Li Xian as if he were a monster. She didn't believe that there was a 7-year-old soul master. It was possible that Li Xian's soul power was fake last time, otherwise he would not have been able to suppress her. I have good talent. Li Xian said truthfully. I don't believe it. Eat quickly, I have something else to do. Kenyo hesitated for a moment, I'll come to this meal, can I be your friend? It's all right, but since I'm treating you to a meal, don't worry about it. Good. Seeing Li Xian agreed, Kenyo looked very happy. It was very common for soul masters to get to know each other, so Li Xian didn't think much about it. At noon, when they returned to the primary soul academy, Dean Su found Li Xian for something urgent. Yuexi stayed in the weapons workshop in Nottingham City. He also planned to stay there today after meeting Dean Su. Dean, you are looking for me. Li Xian noticed something was wrong as soon as he entered the office. Before Dean Su, who had a kind expression, could say anything, a silver-haired girl beside him spoke first. Li Xian. Long time no see. The silver-haired girl has fair skin and delicate facial features. She is wearing a white dress and a down jacket on her upper body. She wears a blue noble medal on her chest. It was Felon. You, really came. Li Xian didn't expect that Philin was not just talking nonsense and transferred from the provincial aristocratic college to a small place like Nottingham. Well, my sister is here too, waiting for you in the assistant room. Yet. Li Xian was stunned. I wonder if that guy Fishia is itching to do something again. Li Xian, Philin will be in your class from now on. Also, the college will temporarily arrange for her to live in your dormitory. Is that okay? Dean Su said with a smile in his eyes. Li Xian was speechless. 3 people living in one dormitory? There's not enough space. Let's not talk about the fact that he has a good relationship with UXI. If Fei Luan suddenly squeezes in, how will he practice at night? Dean Su stroked his beard and said, don't get me wrong, she lives next door to your dormitory. Unlike you, Philin paid for her accommodation. Isn't it possible, Li Xian? Firen asked innocently and pitifully. Whatever. Li Xian didn't know what to say. Philin naturally followed to Notting City because of the fusion of martial souls, and her arrival was not a bad thing for Li Xian. After all, the fusion of his martial soul with hers maintained the physical form with him as the main body. The growth of soul power was of great help to the improvement of the 100 forging techniques. Soon, Li Xian and Fei Luan came to the training room of the Junior Soul Academy. Fishia, who had already warmed up, took off her coat and put on a white training suit. Her hair was tied up high behind her head. She looked at Li Xian with clear and transparent eyes, full of fighting spirit. I've been away for half a year. Li Xian, do you still remember those judo techniques I taught you? Li Xian had just encountered an opponent who surrendered without a fight today, and he was worried about where to use all his energy. Fishia's provocation also aroused his desire to fight. Come. After taking off his coat and shoes, Li Xian bent the joints of his palms. He may not be as good as Fiasir in Jiu-Jitsu, but his strength is so great that he has no reason to be afraid of fighting. Philin, who was watching the fight nearby, caught a glimpse of the 2 men who were full of hostility, and stood aside patiently with his chin in his hands. Staring at his sister Fishia, Philin felt unhappy. Sister is also interested in Li Xian. She is also a rival. After several rounds of discussions, Li Xian won a great victory. His current strength has reached an abnormal level. Not to mention the improvement brought by his soul power, his body transformed by the immortal product is not something that Fishia can touch. Fishia collapsed to the ground, her chest heaving up and down. It seems that my judo is really a fake. No, it's you who have such weird strength, like a ferocious beast in human form. Li Xian rolled his eyes and sat next to Fishia. Don't try to play tricks on me. I feel like you are very cautious and seem to be very afraid of me. Why, when did I, Li Xian, become so petty in your heart? Fishia sighed softly, I'll naturally be cautious when I need your help. Li Xian frowned when he heard this. What happened? The clan leader is injured. Fishia added, it was the Blue Lightning Tyrannosaurus Rex clan that did it. Taking a deep breath, Li Xian narrowed his eyes. Those guys still remembered what happened to Yu Tianheng. Poison Douluo didn't get any benefit from him, so they started targeting the Feido family. No matter whether it is Duguyan or Yu Tianheng, they have the support of titled Douluo behind them, so they are naturally not comparable to the Feido family. Leave this matter to me, and I will implicate you. Li Xian said calmly. The conflict was naturally caused by him. Although it was also related to Fishia, he was the one who started it after all. How could he involve innocent people in his affairs? Don't worry about it. Actually, I came here this time to ask you about the battle armor. Fishia pursed her lips and told the truth hesitantly. In fact, the clan leader was injured in the Wuhan arena. Although the Blue Lightning family is strong, they are not yet at the point of blatantly attacking. If you can speed up the production of the battle armor, our Feiduo family will be grateful to you. Li Xian nodded. The world is bustling with people, all for the sake of profit. It was true that the patriarch of the Fedor family was injured, but it was also true that they were in urgent need of battle armor. Fishia looked away and said, Li Xian, you won't be angry, will you? I feel a little sorry for what I said. No problem. Li Xian smiled slightly. The battle armor is my fulfillment of my promise, so why should I say sorry? Since Philin is here, I will speed up the production. After Li Xian stood up, he pulled Fixia beside him up and said, you were the one who entertained me in the capital of Fasno province. Now that you are here, let me show my hospitality and go have a meal. Looking at Li Xian's frank sincerity, Fishia was inexplicably moved. She also thought that the words her father forced her to say would hurt the relationship between her and Li Xian. But I didn't expect that Li Xian was not that petty. Fishia was relieved. She didn't want to waste her friendship with Li Xian, but the reality was always helpless. Chapter 92. Philin's arrival made Li Xian happy but also gave him a headache. Li Xian felt it deeply during the dinner. Philin seems to have a strong hostility towards Yuexi, and Yuexi has changed a lot in the past year. As his relationship with him improves, he has a natural aversion to female animals that approach him. Anyway, it's a bad situation. Li Xian underestimated the importance girls place on feelings. In short, it was quite stressful for him to adapt to the future life. Fishia had her dormitory in the Junior Soul Academy. It had hardly been touched since she left for half a year. After the dinner, everyone went straight back. Li Xian brought the 3 girls to the gate of the Soul Academy and stopped, planning to work overtime to make battle armor under the cover of night to understand the wishes of the Fedor family. Now, his 100 forging technique has matured and his speed has also increased a lot. There were quite a few materials left over from the last time I helped UXI make battle armor, and those were specially kept by Li Xian. It is estimated that it will only take 3 or 4 days to complete another set of battle armor. Aren't you going back, Yuexi? On this side, Yuexi, who had just seen off Fixia and had not taken a few steps, ran back and hugged Li Xian's arm tightly, as if she wanted to say something. I want to be with you. Yet. Li Xian scratched his head. He is usually very obedient, but today he is so clingy. Okay, let's go together. Forging is not the same as practicing, and he was worried that the noisy environment would affect Yuexi. Not far away, Philin, who was following Fixia, twitched his ears slightly and stopped. Sister, please go back first. Fixia understood immediately and gave her thumbs up. Soon, Philin came over in small steps, stood beside him at an inappropriate time, and asked softly, Li Xian, can you take me with you? If you are tired, I can help you recover your soul power. While speaking, he glanced at Yuexi beside him. Li Xian felt the force of the arm holding him tighten, and he sighed softly in his heart. Without waiting for Yuexi to speak, Li Xian took the initiative to refuse. You should go back, there is no room there. Hearing this, Philin's face turned pale. She clenched her palms for a moment, then suddenly raised her head. Her pretty face did not seem discouraged. She nodded and left. Yuexi looked at her back, her eyebrows slightly furrowed. Li Xian, what did she mean by that? Why could she help you recover? Oh, I see. Li Xian told Yuexi that he and Philin could also merge their spirits. And, he did not forget to add, compared to you, the degree of fusion with her martial soul is much lower. The process was also led by me. I was able to complete the 100 forgings because of her help. Is that so? Yuexi pondered, and suddenly raised her head, staring at Li Xian with a twinkling gaze, as if mustering up her courage. If you can only choose one person, who would you want to be? Of course it's you. Li Xian rubbed Yuexi's head and answered truthfully. Yuexi's delicate body was startled, and a warm feeling flowed in her heart. She did not ask whether this sentence was true or not. The soul power and thoughts of both of them could be integrated. She could feel that there was no flaw in Li Xian's emotions. Besides, since it was Li Xian's answer, it was his attitude. Yuexi felt relieved. Fixia stayed in Notting City for 4 days, and Li Xian gave her the battle armor he had made. From then on, he no longer owed the Fido family a favor. The ability to make battle armor was actually helped by the research of the Fedor family. In his opinion, this is what should be done. In addition, in Li Xian's heart, Fixia has always been a smart and capable woman. Although the Fedor family's actions this time were somewhat inappropriate, his friendship with them has not changed at all. Welcome to come down and play. In front of the villa, Li Xian saw off Fixia with Philin and Yuexi standing beside him. They waved hands gently, neither of them knew when they would meet next time. After returning to normal life, Li Xian's days are fulfilling. Ever since she made a promise to Yuexi that night, she no longer rejected Philin's existence. Most of the time, she allowed Philin to stay by her side and help her. Even Li Xian admired her for her tolerance. If it were him, maybe he couldn't do it. Li Xian gradually developed a new understanding of Yuexi. He found that he had different feelings towards this girl whom he had always regarded as his sister. It sounds ironic, but he is somewhat reluctant to admit that he has a mature soul. Time flies. The semester passed quickly. It has been a full year since Li Xian came to Nottingham. This semester, he only stayed with Philin when he was striving for the 1000 forgings. Most of the time, he practiced dual cultivation with Yuexi to improve his soul power. Li Xian had almost no free time. At the college, he resigned from his position as a part-time student and his teaching assistant position in the training room was also suspended. Apart from cultivation, he devoted himself to the research and development of soul guides. Once upon a time, Li Xian's purpose in getting in touch with soul guides was just to increase the power of his hidden weapon, the sleeve crossbow. But now, in his eyes, soul guides are as important as soul power. The battle armor has become a trump card of his, and it is a skill that no one can challenge. It is no exaggeration to say that he is the only one in the entire Douluo Continent who masters this technology. Therefore, Li Xian attaches great importance to soul guides. After a semester of hard study, Li Xian successfully improved his forging skills to the level of 1000. In terms of soul power, it has reached level 45. Since being promoted to soul sect, the improvement of soul power has been much slower. Li Xian had expected this result a long time ago. After achieving the 1000 forgings, Li Xian first upgraded the battle armor for him and Yuexi. Although it was still at the one-word level, the power was greatly improved. Li Xian researched the battle wings that only spirit forgings had, and this set of battle armor could enable flying when fully worn. At the same time, Li Xian also made a set for Philin. I was able to achieve the 1,000 level milestone thanks to her help. During this period, when Yuexi's soul power reached level 40 and Fei Duo's soul power reached level 30, Li Xian helped them each obtain a soul ring. Now, Yuexi's soul power has just reached level 41, while Fei Duo's is level 33. Li Xian did not help Fei Duo to update her soul ring, so her soul power was naturally slower, but it was still far beyond the cultivation of her peers. After all, Fixia is only level 26 now. During the time in Notting City, Philin participated in the Spirit Hall's disciple competition. With the level of Soul Master, he naturally won all 3 games. As for Li Xian and Yuexi, they couldn't even fight in 3 battles, and their opponents surrendered immediately in every battle. After the competitive knockout rounds, the official competition will begin. First, 128 people will duel out of 100 people, and they will be divided into 2 modes, odd and even. The extra contestants will have a bye, and then multiple rounds of competition will be carried out in the form of 8 groups per mode, with 8 people in each group. Li Xian didn't care too much about the schedule. Mishano would inform him of the game schedule and the situation of the opponents. Therefore, there is little for him to worry about. Moreover, the huge gap in strength made him not care too much about the game. This is not because Li Xian is arrogant. So far, he hasn't even met a soul master with the cultivation level of soul venerable. He and UXI span 2 major stages, and the competition has really become a formality. Before the summer vacation, Fernandez returned to the provincial capital of Fasno. Li Xian told Philin not to tell the story of Jianqiao, otherwise it would be very annoying for the Fido family to let him go to work. Li Xian hasn't returned to the Holy Soul village for a year. This time, he plans to go back with UXI to meet the village elder Jack and his childhood playmates. What Li Xian didn't expect was that Tang San, who hadn't contacted him for a long time, found him this time and made an appointment to return together. Tang San's current lifestyle is very simple. Apart from practicing, he works in the blacksmith shop forging iron. After 1 year of study, his soul power reached level 16. Although I work very hard, he is more talented than his peers. But compared with Li Xian, the gap is still too big. It was also because of this that Li Xian hadn't contacted him for a long time. Chapter 93. The carriage from Nottingham slowly made its way towards the path. Walk west for most of the day and you will reach Holy Soul village. After walking for half a day, the sun was already high in the sky. Gazing out from the carriage window, the city of Nottingham in June was full of greenery, birds were singing, and the scene was full of vitality. The atmosphere inside the carriage was lively. The 2 pairs of children sitting face to face both have outstanding temperaments. Laugh and chat about interesting things that each other has never experienced. Opposite Tang San, the young man with handsome features and a strong frame is naturally Li Xian. The 2 hadn't seen each other for a long time, and Tang San's underdeveloped body and dark skin looked a little unsightly compared to him. This is their first reunion after the winter vacation. Xiao San, has your father really left Holy Soul village? Well, he only left a letter. He told me that he had something important to do. I see. Li Xian put his hands behind his head and thought carefully about Haoshan Douluo. When he was young, he was full of success and had unparalleled talent. He fell in love with Yin, a 100,000-year-old soul beast. He roamed the world with his sword and lived a very happy life. However, as his wife Yin's identity was exposed, the couple was hunted down by the Spirit Hall. In the end, at the cost of Yin's sacrifice, Tang Hao desperately injured the Spirit Hall Pope Jian Sunji, and took Tang San to live in seclusion in the Holy Soul village. From then on, Tang Hao's spiritual heart was tarnished, he was hit hard and never recovered. His sudden disappearance this time was related to Tang San, the twin spirit. Perhaps seeing hope in his son, Tang Hao rekindled his fighting spirit and was determined to protect his son and take revenge on the Spirit Hall. Li Xian sighed, you have twin martial spirits, your uncle must be someone extraordinary, you don't have to worry about his affairs. Oh. Tang San hasn't thought about this yet. Now, the focus of his life is on cultivation, and he seldom thinks about these trivial matters. This is for you. Taking out 2 9th grade purple Ganoderma, Li Xian distributed the rare herbs he picked from the yin-yang eye of ice and fire to Tang San and Xiao Wu. What's this? Xiao Wu took it without thinking, and blinked her big black eyes gently. Xiao Wu. Tang San was helpless, with an apologetic look on his face, how can I have the nerve to accept your things? He recognized it as the 9th grade purple Ganoderma at a glance. He knew how precious herbs were. Why are you being so polite to me? Li Xian waved his hand. These things originally belonged to Tang San, and he felt a little embarrassed that he had snatched them away from him. As he spoke, Li Xian activated his purple demon eye and glanced at Xiao Wu. He saw a pink soft bone rabbit soul emerging from the girl's body. Sure enough, it's very bold. After the soul beast transforms, it can't conceal its aura in its infancy. If it is seen by a titled Douluo, it will definitely die. Li Xian thought of Tang Hao. After he buried his wife Yin, he spent most of his time watching over the 2 of them, so Xiao Wu was not in any danger. So, Tang Hao is also by my side now. 9th grade purple Ganoderma has the effect of strengthening the body, nourishing the essence, and increasing energy and strength. This purple Ganoderma has a deep color and is 1,000 years old. Xiao Xian, where did you get this? Tang San asked curiously. In Sunset Forest, due to some personal grudges, he was captured by a titled Douluo and taken to his cave. I found him there. Oh. Tang San's eyes lit up, can you tell me the exact location? These herbs are not simple. I'll take you there when I have time. Li Xian said with a smile. Anyway, he had picked most of the medicinal herbs there. On the contrary, the yin-yang eyes of ice and fire, as the land of creation, are of vital importance to Tang San's mother. The blue-silver emperor has a strong vitality, and even if the body is damaged, it can still be resurrected through the seed. He had already seized Tang San's opportunity, and it would be unreasonable to let Tang San's mother miss this chance. Thanks. Tang San nodded excitedly. Xiao Wu, who was standing aside, turned her eyes and looked at her brother Tang San, feeling a little depressed. I discovered something that made me so excited. More than a year had passed, and his friend had grown so tall. How come Tang San had been dumped so much? Xiao Wu was unconvinced and said, Li Xian, let me ask you, what level are you at? Why are you talking about this? Li Xian smiled mysteriously. Nothing, just curious, I can feel that you seem very strong. Oh? How strong is considered strong? Seeing that Li Xian was keeping the secret, Xiao Wu's face turned fierce and she wrinkled her nose. Stop dithering. Can't you just say it directly? Uxi, who was standing beside him, frowned when she heard this. It's our freedom to speak up or not. Are you angry about such a small matter? Xiao Wu narrowed her eyes and stared at Uxi coldly. This silent girl didn't say much along the way, but she didn't expect that she would contradict her the first time she spoke. Xiao Wu's eyebrows raised. You want to help Li Xian, right? You are weird. I refuse to answer your question. Uxi shifted his gaze and looked at the scenery outside the window, ignoring her. You. Xiao Wu was so anxious that she almost stood up, and Tang San beside her quickly pulled her back. Seeing this, Li Xian also reached out his hand and gently rubbed Uxi's head. After exchanging a glance with Tang San, they both smiled helplessly. It was just a normal chat. She actually caused the two of them to start fighting. Of course, Tang San knew that Xiao Wu was at fault in this matter, so he couldn't say anything. Xiao Wu is usually very willful, and her temper has been spoiled by being pampered. Even so, Tang San would not blame Xiao Wu for this, and looked at Li Xian with a smile. I'm also curious, Li Xian, how strong are you now? Can you tell me? Li Xian put away his smile, I'm afraid of disappointing you. Tisk, is this true? Xiao Wu shrugged immediately. Uxi frowned when she saw this. She rarely got angry, but when she saw Li Xian being bullied, she found it hard to bear. Immediately, Uxi released her martial spirit, and 4 purple spirit rings floated out from under her feet. You are curious, right? This is our current strength. The purple soul ring released a terrifying aura. Uxi's dark soul power caused the temperature inside the carriage to drop sharply. Across from her, Xiao Wu's eyes widened when she saw Uxi with 4 rings, and she forgot to close her open mouth. You, soul sect. Li Xian too. Uxi said coldly. Tang San thought he had excellent concentration, but after seeing Uxi's spirit ring, his pupils still trembled uncontrollably. He looked at Li Xian with doubt, and the latter just smiled a few times. Our martial spirits can be integrated, so the upgrade will naturally be faster. Yet, Tang San knew that what Li Xian said was to comfort him. When they first walked out of the Holy Soul Village together, Li Xian was only at level 6 in spirit power. After more than a year, he, a genius with twin martial souls and natural full spirit power, was left so far behind. Even Tang San found it difficult to accept it for a while. He has been practicing very hard, how could he be left behind by so much? Don't think too much, everyone has his own way. Li Xian stretched out his hand and patted Tang San lightly. He doesn't like to pretend, especially in front of this friend. Hearing this, Tang San took a deep breath, his eyes regained clarity, and he nodded with a smile. That's right. Others' talents are their own business. He has his own way to go. You can envy, but never be jealous. Xiao Wu beside him couldn't understand why these two people, who started practicing together, became soul sects. She felt unhappy when she thought that she was a 100,000-year-old soul beast but now only had level 16 soul power. Bang! Now, the depressing atmosphere in the carriage was broken. Suddenly, a loud noise was heard, disrupting everyone's thoughts. A cold light flashed in front of them, and a silver spear broke through the carriage. The terrifying wave spread in front of the 4 people. Chapter 94. It happened so quickly that the 4 people had almost no time to react. A purple spear was filled with soul power, and its blade was like a snake. The moment it pierced through the carriage, its residual power shattered the entire carriage. While flying backwards, Li Xian held Uxi in his arms, and the silver dokai of light flew out from the soul guide ring and quickly protected his body. Uxi, who was a little slow to react, also summoned out pieces of purple battle armor. Before landing, the 2 men wearing battle armor smashed into the mud, bounced back, and were knocked several meters away. Protected by armor, he was not injured. On the other side, Tang San and Xiao Wu were in a bad situation. They only had the cultivation level of soul masters and were blown away by the huge residual power. Blood spurted out of their mouths and they fell unconscious after landing on the ground. Tang San, who had only a trace of consciousness, bit his tongue hard, forcibly stimulating his brain to stay awake. He swallowed the sweetness in his throat and protected Xiao Wu tightly. Title Douluo. Li Xian had already stood up, pulling Uxi. He looked solemnly at the short-haired figure floating in the sky with a serious expression. 9 soul rings vibrate around the body. There, a middle-aged man in golden armor walked towards them step by step from the air. He stretched out his hand and grasped the purple snake spear next to the carriage fragments. He put it behind his back and looked at Xiao Wu who was protected by Tang San. It is indeed a 100,000-year-old soul beast. The depths of the middle-aged man's pupils trembled violently. An indescribable surprise appeared on his face. Pity. In the blink of an eye, the excitement disappeared from his face, and he looked at the soul rings floating under his feet, 2 yellow, 3 purple and 5 black. The last soul ring was as black as ink, and when it fell into his eyes, the middle-aged man's expression became much silent. It would have been great if I had met you earlier. A 100,000-year soul beast. At this moment, Tang San's heart skipped a beat as he was locked in the gaze of the figure above him. He immediately understood that the other party was referring to him and Xiao Wu. Are you a soul beast? Tang San wasn't too sure, but it shouldn't be. As for 100,000 years or something, that was even more ridiculous. If it's not him, then it's only Xiao Wu. Tang San is not a fool. Having known Xiao Wu for such a long time, I immediately thought of something. It turns out that Xiao Wu is a 100,000-year-old soul beast, and she is being targeted by a titled Douluo. Run with her. This was Tang San's only thought at the moment. He once said that if anyone wanted to hurt Xiao Wu, they should step over his dead body first. And now, danger has come, and he is determined to protect Xiao Wu no matter what. Thinking of this, Tang San took a deep breath, hugged Xiao Wu on the ground, and ran desperately into the distance. He activated the light Kung Fu Ghost Shadow, leaving an afterimage behind. Run, there is only hope if you escape. Moreover, that person's target was Xiao Wu, and if he left, Li Xian and Uxi would not be implicated. Hehe, want to run. In midair, Snake Spear Douluo Shilong uttered a mocking tone. It was ridiculous that just two soul masters wanted to escape from his sight. With his arms folded, the purple snake spear behind him swelled up in the wind. Controlled by his mind, it flew out from behind like an arrow, drawing an arc in the air and chasing straight towards Tang San's back. Clang! A crisp sound was heard. The snake spear flying in the air was blocked by three cold lights, and its direction suddenly changed and fell into the cliff next to it. Snake Spear Douluo was startled. Who did it? He is a titled Douluo, and his martial spirit has been cultivated into a true body. Who can stop him? A cold light flashed, and he suddenly looked behind him. Snake Spear Douluo Shilong caught a glimpse of a young man in silver armor on the ground, who was putting away a hidden weapon on his arm. There was a gleam in his eyes, and even the slightest movement could be detected by his eyes. There is terrifying soul power flowing on the hidden weapon. Obviously, it was this guy who used that unknown soul guide to block his martial soul snake spear. Court death. After saying two words lightly, Snake Spear Douluo Shilong waved a finger, and the falling snake spear suddenly condensed, and then the tip of the spear pointed upwards, drew a semicircular trajectory, and shot straight at Li Xian. Trying to stop a chariot with a mantis arm is overestimating one's own abilities. Knowing that it is impossible to do something but still doing it is foolish. With a sudden clench of his hand, the Wuhan snake spear penetrated directly, and its size increased by more than twice. In his eyes, the boy was already a dead man. Although, he had no intention of letting go of the witnesses involved in this incident. Clang! Li Xian repeatedly pulled the trigger of his sleeve crossbow towards the flying snake spear, and the crossbow arrows blocked the snake spear again. The Tang sect hidden weapon improved with 1000 forged metal could unleash the strongest attack of a soul saint when fully activated. Fire more crossbow arrows. It is not difficult to stop the attack of titled Douluo. Of course, it can only be intercepted, and it is impossible to block it completely. Uxi. Follow me. Holding Uxi's hand, Uxi activated the wings of the battle armor and flew high into the sky. The moment he put on the battle armor, Li Xian possessed a cultivation level close to that of a soul saint, and the battle armor turning into wings was a characteristic of the spirit-forged battle armor. Li Xian worked hard and put in a lot of effort to create this pair of fighting wings. As the body flew high into the sky, the wings spread out, and the speed suddenly increased. Li Xian and Uxi turned into black dots and disappeared from the cliff in the blink of an eye. High in the sky, before he could retract his gaze from the ground, Snake Spear Douluo Shilong suddenly frowned and looked at the disappearing figure of the young man. So fast? He had never seen such a powerful soul guide. Although, this time the mission was to investigate a girl named Xiao Wu in Nodding City, and those two little guys were severely injured by him, it was expected that they would not be able to run far. And he couldn't digest a 100,000-year-old soul beast. Even if the mission is successful, all the credit goes to the above. On the contrary, the treasure on that little guy who was looking for death was very good. Thinking of this, Snake Spear Douluo summoned his martial soul, activated his soul power, and chased in the direction Li Xian left. Half a quarter of an hour later, a flash of fire exploded in the sky. Two small figures fell awkwardly from midair, falling straight into a deserted forest. Green smoke rose up from the battle armor. Li Xian was embedded in the mud, still holding Uxi in his arms, grimacing in pain. The impact was a small matter, as he was hit by Uxi pressing on his chest. After all, this girl is also wearing a complete set of battle armor, and materials with the same properties can cause damage to him. Did you follow? Pulling Uxi up, Li Xian frowned and looked back. That guy was indeed attracted to him. That's good. If he goes after Tang San and Xiao Wu, they will be in danger. Judging from the fact that this titled Douluo with the weapon spirit could chase him here, Tang Hao is definitely not here now. Otherwise, I would not have been attacked by this person. In this case, only self-help can resolve the current crisis. Xiao Wu's identity was exposed so quickly? This plot is different. Li Xian looked solemn. Some established events deviated because of his appearance. That's bad enough. Being targeted by a titled Douluo is quite stressful. He thought quickly in his mind, there was a Douluo in the spirit hall who used the snake spear. He had actually seen it through the internal records of the spirit hall. Level 92 strong attack titled Douluo, Shilong, has a mutated martial soul, the snake lance, which releases the martial soul's true form. Not only does he have a strong physical body, but he can also release the powerful force of his weapon martial soul. Very strong. Although he is at the bottom among the titled Douluo. But for a soul sect member like him, the threat was much greater. Holding Uxi's hand, Li Xian's eyes were fierce. If he doesn't kill him today, he will die. Even if he knows how difficult the other party is, he can't just sit there and wait for death. Yuexi, come here. Li Xian leaned close to Yuexi's ear and quickly said a few words. Chapter 95. Snake Spear. Douluo Shilong appeared out of nowhere, his slender figure like a straight and sharp spear. He was 2 meters tall, wearing golden armor, had a short and thick beard, and looked like a thin middle-aged man. The purple and blue weapon Spirit Snake Spear behind him clanged rapidly, with the sharp blade pointing at the ground. Run, why don't you run? With his arms folded, Snake Spear Douluo Shilong had a cold look on his face. A pair of narrow eyes swept across Li Xian and Uxi with interest. I never thought that in a small place like Nottingham City, there are such geniuses, and I met 2 of them at once. At the age of 7, he already had the cultivation level of a soul sect. Wow, Shilong couldn't even imagine it. It's such a waste to kill him like this. Elder, we are also from the Spirit Hall, can you please let us go? As he spoke, Li Xian pulled Uxi back a few steps. Snake Spear Douluo pondered for a moment and sighed, I don't want to do anything to the 2 children either. How about this, hand over the soul guide you just used, and the armor on your body. I will consider your request. Upon hearing this, Li Xian's eyes fixed. Oh, you think he's a fool? This Snake Spear Douluo is already over 80 years old, and he really has no shame at all. Even in this situation, I still want to coax him and Yuexi. The reason why he followed was not because of the soul guide on his body, but he did not take direct action, which just proved this point. Snake Spear Douluo was worried that the battle would damage these treasures. Elder, if you like soul guides, I will make you one. You see, our children's things are not suitable for you to wear. Li Xian suppressed the mixed emotions in his mind and tried his best to make his tone sound innocent. Are you doubting me? A cold light flashed in Snake Spear Douluo Shilong's eyes. How could he, a titled Douluo, break his promise to a child? Although, he will do it. But Li Xian's attitude made him very unhappy. Li Xian coughed, Elder, don't be angry. It's not that I don't trust you, but, you just attacked us, and now you want us to hand over our soul guides. Wait, you said you made those soul guides. Snake Spear Douluo Shilong suddenly thought of something and interrupted to ask. That's right. Li Xian patted his chest, I am a soul guide. Muttering to himself, Snake Spear Douluo Shilong frowned deeply. Such a talented kid, and a soul guide at that, killing him, is such a pity. At this moment, seeing Snake Spear Douluo Shilong's relaxed expression, a gleam of light flashed in Li Xian's eyes. He quietly held Yuexi's hand, raised his head, and said childishly, Elder, there is actually one thing I haven't told you. My name is Li Xian, and Zhu Douluo is my teacher. Look at this. After saying that, Li Xian took out the Spirit Hall Elder token from his soul guide, a chrysanthemum was engraved on the ancient and dull jade. This is the identity symbol of the Spirit Hall Elders, and is also the identity card in charge of punishment. Only Zhu and Gui possess this item. Snake Spear Douluo Shilong in the air grabbed the token, looked at it carefully, and his pupil shrank. It really is Yueguan's token. Are you Yueguan's disciple? It is absolutely true. Li Xian smiled with his white teeth, and then released his martial soul. The cassia grass martial soul grew all over the sky, and 4 soul rings, 2 yellow and 2 purple, floated out from under his feet. Snake Spear Douluo Shilong took a deep breath. If he is that guy's apprentice, it wouldn't be surprising if he had such talent. Thinking of this, his brows furrowed even more tightly. But, this action was the Pope's intention. Even though he was Zhu Douluo's apprentice, he could not disobey the Pope's orders. So, the people we met on the road were the protectors sent by Yueguan. It was indeed the right thing to do to disperse them. And I killed the 2 little guys here, and Yueguan has no evidence. Besides, this mission was issued by the Pope. Even if he has complaints, he has no way to vent them. Can he take it out on the Pope? When Snake Spear Douluo thought of this, his thick brows slowly relaxed, and the corners of his mouth slightly raised, revealing a faint smile. So you are Yueguan's disciple. If you had told me earlier, I wouldn't have chased you. Looking at Li Xian's martial soul with chrysanthemums, Shilong understood more and more. Yes, Elder. We are all family. As Li Xian spoke, the soul power in his hand merged into Yuexi's body. At this moment, the 2 people's martial spirits are merging. Hehe, I won't make things difficult for you two, but the 2 friends you were with just now are very important to the Spirit Hall, so remember not to tell anyone about it. You guys go. Snake Spear Douluo Shilong waved his hand, and the clanging martial spirit spear behind him stood upside down and was carried steadily on his back. Okay, Elder. We promise not to tell anyone, you can rest assured. It won't bother you, we'll leave right away. As Li Xian spoke, he took a few steps back and held Uxi. At this moment, both of them were glowing. After the fusion of their martial souls, their soul power increased dramatically, and a terrifying wave suddenly spread out. Wait. Snake Spear Douluo Shilong frowned and suddenly called out to the 2 people who were leaving. How? Before Li Xian turned around, murderous intent flashed in his eyes. Uxi's body turned translucent, about to merge with him, the power of yin and yang was ready to be unleashed, the arrow was on the string. You forgot to take your token. Snake Spear Douluo Shilong glanced at the 2 of them calmly and threw the token out. Looking at the 2 glowing people, a hint of sneer flashed through his mind. Want to use soul power to escape? Haha, then let's see if it's faster than his snake spear. You see, I was so excited that I forgot about it. Li Xian scratched his head and turned around to catch the token thrown by Shilong. The next second, his pupils emitted yin and yang colors, transforming into a golden light that merged with the moon. The space shook, and a black spot suddenly appeared under the feet of snake spear Douluo Shilong. At first, the black spot was inconspicuous, but in the blink of an eye, the black spot swelled with the wind and turned into a black hole several meters wide. Suddenly a violent storm suddenly appeared. A terrifying impact erupted from the center of the black hole, and an invisible air membrane rushed out half a meter, and then turned into a gravitational force that sealed everything. Snake spear Douluo Shilong was tightly grabbed by the black hole, his brows furrowed, and with a whoosh, he was carried high into the sky. His soul power, consciousness and martial spirit were all sealed at the same time. He said to himself, "Oh no." The rocks and soil that were rolled up in the forest were coming towards him. Two bangs. A ball the size of a building appeared in the sky. The light in this space is dim, and all the light is absorbed by the black hole. Snake spear Douluo was sealed inside, his 2-meter-tall body buried in the stone. Star. A yin-yang fish embracing yin and yang floated in the air. In the spirit state, Li Xian let out a low roar. This killer move. It is the fusion skill of Qirong Tongtianzhou and Phantom Martial Soul. However, this is not the end. Chapter 96. The yin-yang fish continued to merge, the golden light dissipated, and a dark green vine that covered the sky rose out from the space. The Qingxiu crescent moon vine, which was as thick as a bowl, gave birth to the martial soul's body. Then, it turned into a black light and merged into the yin-yang fish. Then, Yuexi's phantom martial soul merged with the Qingxiu crescent moon vine, and the yin-yang fish fell into chaos. The space suddenly became cold and filled with deathly aura. The breath of extreme darkness spread out. The void broke, and a crack appeared, like the pupil of a demon, slowly opening from hell. The black spirit condensed into a cross shape, and shot out a black pupil light that annihilated everything. Laugh. The black beam pierces the high school star. The already dim forest now seemed to be plunged into darkness. A large number of rocks shattered in the air, the stars disintegrated, a miserable wail was heard, and the shrill voice of snake spear Douluo Shilong echoed in the forest. Ah! Whoosh! Whoosh! 2 more beams of light were then emitted from the black cross eyes. The rays penetrated the stars, black light covered the sky, and the contaminated space actually made a crisp sound of shattering. The air in front of him shattered into pieces, and the black beam of light devoured everything. Anything that was touched collapsed and disintegrated, melting like ice and snow. The second fusion skill of Qingxiu Crescent Moonvine and Phantom Martial Spirit, Dark Core. Before the scream of Snake Spear Douluo Shilong could spread out, it suddenly stopped. A powerful vitality was rapidly lost. The next second, light shot into the forest, and Li Xian and Yuexi's bodies separated from the eyes and turned into 2 dark lights that fell to the ground. The stars in the sky exploded with a bang, and a large number of stones and wood blocks fell to the ground. Among the falling objects, a figure with only half of his body and a broken head also fell down. As the figure fell to the ground, it stood there motionless like a plant. Blood flowed out from the body. At this moment, Snake Spear Douluo no longer looked the same as before. Half of his head disappeared, and his body was only connected to the lower half by some clothes. His left eye stared at the sky in horror, and his face still had the fear of death. Kill the titled Douluo. Li Xian stood up from the ground and looked at Shilong's body with excited pupils. The strongest group of people on Douluo Continent. The existence of titled Douluo. He was killed here. Although I have Yuexi's help, killing is killing. As the saying goes, all is fair in war. The power of the martial soul fusion technique far exceeded his expectations. The effect it produced was not only to challenge the titled Douluo, but also to kill him by surprise. Li Xian suddenly remembered that the pair of soul Douluo level Dragon Man and Snake Woman could pose a threat to titled Douluo after releasing their martial soul skills. And he and Yuexi, after wearing battle armor, have also reached a cultivation level close to that of soul saints. The fusion technique of their martial souls can directly kill titled Douluo. The gap between them can be imagined. This is not only due to the top-level martial spirit, but also the super-high compatibility of the 2 martial spirits. If Philin was beside him, he definitely wouldn't be able to do this. He died. Beside him, Yuexi held his dizzy head and his eyes were fixed on a corpse not far away. The battle armor was untied, revealing a pale and surprised little face. Wasn't that man a titled Douluo? He just died like that? Thinking back to the plan Li Xian told her, Yuexi felt a flash of fear in her heart. It was too risky. I thought Li Xian wanted to take her away, but he was going to kill her. And, he actually did it. No, they did it together. Well, it's better not to die anymore. Walking to Shilong, Li Xian kicked that half of his face. This old dog didn't have anything good to say, so it's not a pity that he died. When he is a fool, the spirit hall sent a titled Douluo to investigate Xiao Wu, and almost injured him and Yuexi by mistake. He wouldn't believe it unless Pope Bibidong was behind it. In other words, this operation was very secretive, and even Zhu and Ghost Douluo were kept in the dark. Shilong participated in this operation alone. As witnesses, how could he and Yuexi be let off? Even Zhu Douluo can't do anything about what the Spirit Hall Pope means. Therefore, he did not believe Shilong's pretense from the beginning, and took advantage of his carelessness and decisively killed him. A genuine titled Douluo. If people were to know that he died in this nameless forest, it would shock many people. What now? Yuexi walked over and followed Li Xian carefully, not daring to look at Shilong's mutilated body on the ground. It was tragic, half of his body was gone. Half of his face was open and he died with a lot of blood vomited from his mouth. Yuexi, you killed someone, are you afraid? Li Xian suddenly turned his head and stared at the timid girl standing next to him with ill intent. I'm not afraid. Yuexi nodded, then immediately shook her head, hugged Li Xian from behind, and buried her head in him. Li Xian chuckled, I'm going to expose you, and you're done for. No. We did this together. Yuexi shook her head behind her. Ha ha ha. Seeing her like this, Li Xian felt relieved. He was worried that his first move would cause some psychological trauma to the girl, but it was obviously him overthinking it. He squatted down, took out a storage soul guide from Shilong, put it into his pocket, and put Shilong's body into his storage ring. This body cannot stay here. At least, bury it somewhere else. The storage ring given by Douluo can store living things, so there is no need to worry about Shilong's body rotting. Finally, taking a look around, Li Xian saw that the area of a damage caused by the Tianxing earth core was too large. He frowned and thought, but there was no good solution. After thinking for a moment, he set a fire and took Yuexi away. I hope I can destroy the traces left on the ground. The disappearance of a titled Douluo was no small matter for the spirit hall. Of course, Li Xian was not too worried that the spirit hall would find him. After all, Shilong's target is Tang San and Xiao Wu, and those two are protected by Clear Sky Douluo Tang Hao. This time he took action to save Tang San, so there is nothing wrong with letting Tang Hao clean up the mess. Holy Soul Village. By the time Li Xian and Uxi returned here, it was already dusk. Li Xian found Tang San in a cave in the back mountain of Holy Soul Village, the place where they had stayed when they were children. He expected Tang San to be here. Is it better? Seeing Xiao Wu in a coma, Li Xian asked softly. It's just a shock injury, it's nothing serious. Tang San's face was gloomy, and he suddenly raised his head, where is that titled Douluo? He will never be able to catch up. Li Xian waved his hand and calmly sat next to Tang San. Tang San looked thoughtful and did not ask any more questions, but his pair of purple devil pupils noticed the blood energy on Li Xian's body. Thank you, Li Xian. Tang San understood and finally said thank you. Li Xian thought it was nothing, what are you going to do next? He was also surprised that Xiao Wu was a soul beast. Since her identity was discovered by the spirit hall, it was impossible for her to continue staying in Nodding City. I don't know, and I have nowhere to go. Tang San sighed deeply. He really didn't know what to do. He was still very weak, and this body was just that of a child. He had no confidence in protecting Xiao Wu. Li Xian consoled her, since the spirit hall's target is Xiao Wu, let her return to where she existed before. I can help you change your identity and live somewhere else. As long as you are willing to spend money, there is nothing you can't do. With the hundreds of thousands of gold soul coins in Li Xian's pocket, it was quite easy to give Tang San a new identity. No. Xiao Wu can't live without me. If she leaves, those bad guys will find her. However, but Tang San flatly refused. I couldn't tell whether I was reluctant or worried about letting her leave me like this, but I just didn't want to do that. I understand your idea. Actually, there is another way. Li Xian hesitated for a moment. Since Tang San is unwilling, he can only ask his father Tang Hao to take action. And not only Tang San was depressed, in fact even Li Xian now felt difficult with the spirit hall. It's not that they hate the existence of the spirit hall, but those manipulators behind it will do anything to achieve their goals. This time, even Yuexi was almost implicated. Pope Bibidong, such a sinister woman, used the spirit hall as a killing weapon for her own selfish desires, which he could not tolerate. Chapter 97. You mean to let me continue to stay in Holy Soul Village, right? After listening to Li Xian's advice for a long time, Tang San raised his immature yet calm eyes. And the look on his face was still a little puzzled. The titled Douluo who was hunting you down could have taken action earlier if he suspected Xiao Wu's identity. Why did he wait until today? Li Xianyang raised his tone and continued, he had many opportunities to take action, didn't he? Tang San nodded after hearing this. If a powerful person at the level of titled Douluo had any bad intentions towards Xiao Wu, he could have abducted her at any time. If he chose to act halfway because he didn't want to attract attention, it would be inexplicable. Li Xian's words broke through Tang San's thoughts, and said, perhaps, he didn't just happen to take action today, but for some reason, Tang San, is your father really as simple as you think? You mean a euro? Tang San was stunned. He had never told Li Xian that he had twin martial spirits. But the blue-silver grass martial soul, which was born with full soul power, explains everything. Tang San had also investigated and found that his other martial soul was very similar to the hammer in the spirit hall token. As far as he knew, it was the family martial soul of the Haoshan sect, one of the top 3 sects. The disciples of Haoshan sect also have the surname Tang. Tang San naturally suspected that his father Tang Hao might be a disciple of Haoshan sect. Looking at Tang San's thoughtful expression, Li Xian smiled and said, if you continue to stay here, I think your father will find you. Now you are still very weak and can't protect Xiao Wu. It's better to wait for your father to show up and ask for his advice. Tang San took a deep breath, his expression gradually calmed down, it's the only way. Next to her, Xiao Wu was still in a coma. The attack of Snake Spear Douluo Shilong was intentionally directed at her, so she suffered the most severe impact. Yuexi sat obediently beside them, hugging her knees, listening to their conversation without saying a word. She already knew about Xiao Wu's status as a 100,000-year-old soul beast. Yuexi was looking at the porcelain doll-like girl on the ground at this moment, feeling a surge of self-blame in her heart. It turns out she is a soul beast. You shouldn't be angry with her. Li Xian suddenly stood up, pursed his lips, and pondered for a moment. Xiao San, Yuexi and I helped you deal with that titled Douluo, but the spirit hall may not know about this yet. You wait for your father here. As for Yuexi and I, it will be troublesome for us to continue staying with you. Tang San nodded. I understand. The spirit hall's current target is Xiao Wu, which has nothing to do with Li Xian. Besides, they have already helped me once, so why should I continue to trouble them? You misunderstood. Li Xian was stunned for a moment and laughed. What I want to say is that Uncle Tang will protect you and Xiao Wu. Yuexi and I can continue to stay in the spirit hall and help you secretly. Li Xian. Tang San's face showed enlightenment, and warmth flowed in his heart. Turn out to be, this is what my good friend means. As you can imagine, spirit hall doesn't know who killed that titled Douluo, and the person behind it naturally didn't think of me and Yuexi. In other words, we haven't been exposed yet. Of course, if I continue to stay here, it will not be good if I am seen by someone with ulterior motives. Moreover, since the spirit hall has sent out a titled Douluo, it means that no one else will be chasing you and Xiao Wu in the short term. Now you can stay here without worry. Yuexi and I are going to pretend nothing happened and take shelter for a while. Thanks. Tang San was very excited and stood up and hugged Li Xian tightly. Why are you being polite to me, bro? If father comes back, then, Xiao Wu and I will leave. Yet. I'm not good at talking, just, take care. Tang San emphasized his tone. Li Xian was silent for a moment, revealing his white teeth. I hope we can still be friends next time we meet. Of course a euro. The setting sun melts gold. The setting sun burns high in the sky. The afterglow spread across the mountains and forests, and finally dissipated abruptly. As the two figures separated, the cave fell into silence. Li Xian and Yuexi left and returned home, pretending nothing had happened. In his spare time, he would run to the neighboring village to find Yuexi, and stay for a meal under the satisfied gaze of a middle-aged couple. The rest of the time, he lived in the home of the village elder Jack, accompanying the hunchbacked old man and many children in the village, slowly telling them what had happened in the past year, causing a burst of exclamations. Li Xian did not go to deliver food to Tang San. In his opinion, there is no need to do so. If he really did it so thoroughly, it would seem derogatory to Tang San. A person's kindness should be kept within limits. The saying too much is as bad as too little also applies to this matter. A week later, Li Xian took advantage of the early morning and took a walk to the cave in the back mountain of Shengun village. But this time, Tang San and Xiao Wu were not seen. There was a mark engraved on the wall of the cave that only he and Tang San could understand. Hidden weapon peacock umbrella. Umbrella, do you mean to disperse? Li Xian's slightly frowned brow suddenly relaxed. At least he knew that Tang San should have left safely. With his father around, his training wouldn't be delayed much even if he left the Wuhan Academy. As for Xiao Wu, Li Xian estimated that Tang Hao would still choose to send her back to the Star Do Great Forest. On the one hand, Tang San and his son are no match for the Spirit Hall now. Secondly, in the Star Do Great Forest, the presence of the blue sky gadfly and the Titan giant ape can also protect Xiao Wu. Soul beasts need to stay with humans, and more than a year of contact is enough for Xiao Wu. I hope you can shake off the Spirit Hall's pursuit. Li Xian activated his soul power, stretched out two fingers, wiped off the mark on the wall, and then left. See you next time. I really don't know when that will be. Will Tang San seek revenge directly on the Spirit Hall? Li Xian didn't think too much about it. Before that, he needed to figure out who leaked the information about Xiao Wu, causing her to be noticed by the Spirit Hall. After returning to the Holy Soul Village, Li Xian packed up his things and said goodbye to the village elder Jack. Before returning to Nottingham, he went to Yuexi's house again and told her about his return. Yuexi stays at home during both winter and summer vacations. She was essentially still a child, and even if she wanted to come out, Li Xian would not allow it. Now that he couldn't figure out the situation at the Spirit Hall, he planned to go back and investigate it himself. Nottingham City. The next day, Li Xian drove into this small border town in a carriage. First, he found Machino and asked about the recent events in the Spirit Hall. Although I know that Mathono does not have access to too confidential information, but if I try to find out something by asking around, maybe I can find out something. And just as Li Xian thought, here in the Wuhan Hall of Notting City, nothing happened as usual. As for the titled Douluo Shilong, no one knows much about him. Li Xian felt a little disappointed, but secretly happy in his heart. In fact, he went directly to Machino, which seemed like he was walking into a trap. Judging from the current situation, the top leaders of the Spirit Hall have not yet noticed Shilong's death. Chapter 98. It was summer vacation, and the students of Nottingham Junior College and Junior Seoul Hall had all gone home. The staff dormitory was also locked. Li Xian expected that he would have to stay in the weapons workshop in Nottingham for the next few days. Li Xian suddenly realized that all his energy was invested in cultivation and soul guide forging, and he lacked a lot of social interaction. At this time, he didn't even have many friends to talk to. If he wanted to investigate the affairs of Tang San and Xiao Wu, he should start from the Junior Soul Academy in Notting City. But there, Li Xian didn't know anyone except Wang Sheng. Not to mention, Wang Sheng was away because of summer vacation. At this moment, the only person Li Xian could think of was the girl, Kenyo, who loved Gothic style. According to the address given by the other party, Li Xian found a villa in an area where wealthy people lived in Nottingham and knocked on the door. Who? The girl who opened the door was wearing a black dress. Perhaps because she had just woken up, she was dressed very coolly and her hair was messy. Kono was enjoying a leisurely holiday life, but she didn't expect someone to find her at this time. Moreover, the person who came to visit was Li Xian, whom she had just met. It's you. Kenyo looked surprised and invited Li Xian into the house. I have something to ask you, so I won't go in. Li Xian scratched his head. In fact, he had only met this girl a few times. He felt a little embarrassed to find her like this. Go ahead. Kenyo hugged his door and tilted his head curiously. It's rare for someone to come and play with her, and she looks quite happy. Do you have any friends at Nottingham Junior College? Li Xian asked straight to the point. Of course, I graduated from there. Oh. Li Xian's eyes lit up when he heard the girl's answer. Yes, not every child will join the Spirit Hall. Nottingham Junior College is the place that most people will choose. I would like to ask you to help me investigate something. My friend Tang San is a first-year student at the junior college. I want to find out who is targeting him in the college. You can just ask some friends, there is no need to go through so much trouble. Is your friend being bullied? Kono was stunned for a moment. Who is so bold as to provoke even Li Xian's friends? It's like this, could you please ask for me? Li Xian requested. No problem, it's just a small matter. Kono agreed immediately. Although she was a little neurotic, she loved making friends, especially since she had just graduated from Nottingham Junior College, where there were still many of her classmates. Just ask casually and you will know who is targeting Tang San. After all, Kenyo knew who were the people who liked to bully others. Thank you, this is for you. Li Xian took out an exquisite bracelet, which was a soul guide he made by imitating the core array of a storage soul guide. There is only 2 cubic meters of storage space, but it is still enough for many people. Especially nowadays when soul guides are very scarce. Soul guidance device? For me. There was desire in Kenyo's eyes, but he immediately refused. She couldn't accept such an expensive gift. Moreover, Li Xian's matter was not important. On the contrary, she hoped that with this help, she could get closer to Li Xian. I made it myself, take it. Li Xian smiled, and then exhibited several other soul guides he had made. If you like something else, you can take it in exchange. There are daggers, shields, hidden arrows, sword balls, as well as semi-finished wings and charging bracelets. Wow, you have this ability. Kono's eyes suddenly widened. But I just want this necklace. I've always wanted a soul guide to store things. Thank you, Li Xian. Li Xian shook his head. We each have what we need. Apart from Tang San's matter, if you can find out the background of those people targeting him, you can take another soul guide from me. No problem. Kono nodded immediately. Li Xian didn't talk to Kenyo for too long. He was not very clear about his situation, and it would not be good if he implicated her. After wandering around Nottingham for half a day, Li Xian tried to find out if anyone was following him, but he found nothing. Later, I returned to the weapons workshop and felt at ease, continuing to improve my forging skills. During this fight with the titled Douluo, Li Xian felt more and more the importance of battle armor. If it weren't for this trump card, even if he and UXI joined forces, they would not be able to kill Shilong. Li Xian wanted to try and see if he could improve his forging skills to the level of spiritual forging after the summer vacation. If this is possible, the soul power increased by the battle armor will be as much as 30 levels, which is much faster than practicing. Cultivation is like a long stream of water, and you can't rush it. If you want to gain strength in a short period of time, you can only rely on soul guides. The next day, Li Xian woke up to a knock on the door. I glanced out the window and saw that it was already noon. I had slept for so long without realizing it. I thought that Kenyo had already investigated everything and would come to me now. Li Xian hurriedly washed his face, went downstairs and opened the door, but when he saw the silver-haired figure standing outside the door, he was stunned. Why are you back? The silver-haired girl was about 8 or 9 years old, with delicate features and fair skin. She was carrying a large suitcase and was shielding her eyes from the sun with one hand. She was wearing a double-strap dress, white stockings, and small sandals, looking like a girl next door in summer. Philin lowered her head and smiled sweetly. I was bored at home, so I came back and just happened to hear that you were here. Yet. Li Xian helped her take the luggage and wondered who had spread the news. And he couldn't figure it out for a while, so he went to the spirit hall after he came back. Philin was interested in this aspect, so it was easy to know these things. But she acted a little too fast. Where's UXI? Philin walked into the room, blinked and looked around, with a hint of pride in his gaze. She's in her hometown. Li Xian explained. Really? Philin raised the corners of his mouth and showed a triumphant smile while Li Xian wasn't paying attention. Where do you live? Li Xian asked again. He took the luggage subconsciously, but then he realized why he was taking someone else's luggage. Can't I stay? Philin asked softly, begging. Li Xian didn't say anything. But I felt helpless in my heart. We can't drive Philin out. When he was in the province of Fasno, he was hosted by the Fedor family. Please clean up yourself. I have something else to do. Li Xian didn't say much. He helped Philin put the luggage on the second floor and left immediately to find Kenyo. When he arrived at Kono's house, he found that the other party was about to go out. I was just coming to find you. Any results? Well, your friend Tang San is at odds with the 6th grader Xiao Chinayu and his gang in the academy. Xiao Chinayu is my classmate, and his father is the mayor of Notting City. Xiao Chinayu. Li Xian suddenly thought of the conflict a year ago. He stood up for the part-time students and taught a lesson to a male student named Ling Feng. The leader of the other group was named Xiao. Kono, do you know any other information? Kenyo frowned. If you're asking about the specific conflict, I really don't know. But I heard from my classmates that before the summer vacation, a big shot from the Spirit Hall came to Notting City. The strange thing was that those people did not go to the primary Soul Palace, but were entertained by the city lord and then left. Yet. Li Xian narrowed his eyes. I see. The Spirit Hall has never stopped looking for Xiao Wu. He recalled the time he met Ju Wu Douluo in the wetland forest. He now understood what the other party meant by the fish that slipped through the net. It seems that it was Xiao Chinayu who revealed Xiao Wu's situation, which then triggered the investigation of the Spirit Hall. This possibility is very high. Because, as a human incarnated from a soul beast, Xiao Wu does not need to hunt for soul rings. She upgrades very quickly, and her origins are unknown, which in itself is suspicious. The Spirit Hall used City Lord Xiao to inquire about this matter. Xiao Chinayu, who had a grudge against Tang San, revealed the matter about Xiao Wu. Soft bone rabbit. That's Xiao Wu's true form. With a rabbit spirit, how could it not attract attention? It seems to be them. Li Xian felt a little relieved. I originally thought that it was his arrival that brought disaster to Xiao Wu and Tang San, but now it seems that is not the case. Kenyo looked at Li Xian in deep thought, somewhat puzzled. My classmate also mentioned this matter casually. Is it helpful to you? No. Li Xian denied it immediately, and then said, thank you for this time. If there is anything else about Xiao Chinayu, please tell me. Oh. Kenyo was a little confused. While she was thinking, Li Xian handed a sword ball to her. A 4th level soul guide. This is how I classify it. Once activated, it can unleash the power of a soul king. Use it to protect yourself. Oh. Thank you. Kono looked surprised. It's so cool to have a friend who can make soul guides. You can easily take out such a good treasure. Soul king, she has never met such a strong man. After saying goodbye, Li Xian looked uncertain as he considered whether to retaliate against Xiao Chinayu. Although this incident was caused by him, he did not intend to kill Xiao Wu and Tang San. On the contrary, he was just a fool. Therefore, it is somewhat unreasonable to take revenge. At the same time, Li Xian wanted to know how far the Spirit Hall's investigation had progressed. If it was just a suspicion, there was still room for recovery. Shi Long died at the hands of him and Uxi, which was also a key point. Contact the teacher to ask about the situation. We can't just sit there and wait for death. By the time Spirit Hall investigates, it will be too late. Li Xian wanted to find out the reaction of the Spirit Hall first. He returned home and immediately wrote a letter and sent it to Ju Douluo Yueguan who was in Wuhan City. The content is also very simple. His friend Tang San was attacked by unknown people and hoped that he could help. Li Xian guessed that Ju Douluo was not involved in this incident. He would definitely send someone to investigate the situation after receiving the news. Li Xian remembered that there was someone with Ju Douluo secretly around him, and he would definitely tell the other party the details. In this way, Ju Douluo's reaction was enough for Li Xian to understand some of the situation. As for Shi Long's disappearance, he planned to use Tang Hao to cover it up. He wouldn't be suspected of killing Shi Long, right? At the same time, this incident can also test Ju Douluo's character and whether this cheap teacher is worthy of his trust. Chapter 99. Ju Douluo Yueguan was thousands of miles away in Wuhan City. While waiting for a reply, Li Xian calmed down and continued to practice. Filin's arrival was undoubtedly a timely help to Li Xian. With her help, Li Xian had to admit that he would make rapid progress in honing his soul guide skills. Before this, Li Xian's forging skills had remained at the 1000 forging level. Next, he planned to impact the spiritual forging. Full soul forging is a technique, not a level division for soul mentors. Speaking of which, soul engineers are also divided into levels of 10, and Li Xian is currently a 4th level soul engineer. This does not contradict his impact forging. The Dukai created by Lingduan will undergo a qualitative change in both quality and strength. Not only can the battle armor be integrated into the body, but after complete integration it can also transform into wings, provide 30 levels of soul power, and can be named a second word. Of course, the conditions required to achieve spiritual forging are extremely harsh. First of all, the soul engineer needs to have the cultivation level of a 6-ring soul emperor. Li Xian naturally didn't have to worry. With Filin's help, he would have no problem with soul power and soul forging. Life returned to the busy days when I was in school. However, now, only Filin is with me. During the day, he improved his forging skills, and at night he practiced with Filin. Being with her, Li Xian did not fall behind in his cultivation. At least, faster than he could alone. This is just a matter of mutual benefit, and there is not much thought behind it. A week later, Li Xian felt that his soul power was enough to sustain his spiritual forging. There were still many rare metals in the storage soul guide. Li Xian kept his mind steady and took this impact very seriously. He was more focused than usual and maintained his momentum in cultivation. This is because spirit forging is not the same as thousand forgings. Once it fails, the soul of the soul engineer will be damaged. Li Xian didn't want to push himself too hard. Take your time and do everything within your ability. It doesn't matter if you fail. Keeping this mentality, Li Xian devoted all the next half-month to forging without any distractions, and he didn't even leave the house once. Although Firen was born into a noble family, he was also very active in housework. Li Xian's clothing, housing, and transportation all depended on her. Firen's efforts were not free. After all, as Li Xian improved her forging skills, he would also upgrade her battle armor. Half a month later, on an ordinary afternoon, Li Xian, who had just finished forging, leaned against the wall with his brows pinched. It was midsummer and the quiet chirping of insects could be heard outside the window. He took a deep breath, thinking back to the progress he had made during this period, chewing it over in his mind. It is only one step away from spiritual forging. His mood was unexpectedly calm. Instead of getting in a hurry, I stopped and began to reflect. The failure rate of spiritual forging is still very high. Talking to myself, Li Xian opened his bright eyes and looked at the leisure scenery outside the window. He has already achieved spiritual forging. But the extremely high failure rate made him very dissatisfied. I always feel like something is missing. Thousand forging, spirit forging, and soul forging are all technical states, not the level of the soul engineer himself. To stabilize this technology, we need to correct some of these problems. Without anyone to guide him, Li Xian could only rely on his own experience to summarize. When he found that he couldn't figure it out, he stopped decisively. Instead of being stuck in a state for a long time, it is better to give yourself a break. Releasing stress may bring unexpected rewards. That night, Li Xian turned off the fire, trimmed his overly long hair, and tidied up his appearance. Philanthropy helps with housework during the day and has most of her time free. She has a hobby of sketching, so Li Xian cleared out an empty room and turned it into her studio. The subjects of Philan's sketches are all landscapes. He has drawn the old willow tree outside the north window more than hundreds of times. In her words, if you love something, you should do it simply so that you can maintain your passion for it for a long time. That evening, Philan was still sketching weeping willows in her room. The girl was wearing cool summer clothes and had her hair loose. She hadn't been out for a while, so she was being more casual. She was wearing only a white dress with slippers on, and was sitting on a chair with one foot crossed. He is very focused when sketching, holding only the pen and bringing his face close to the drawing board. Are you free? After standing for a short while, Li Xian asked. Ah. Firen was like a frightened rabbit, and the pencil slipped from his hand. He turned around, looked at Li Xian and patted his chest. You're hungry, but it's not time for dinner yet. Picking up the pencil from the ground, Firen said doubtfully. Let's go out for dinner and shopping today. Firen wiped her eyes in disbelief and heard that Li Xian wanted to take her shopping. A crazy cultivator who can lock himself in his room for more than half a month, would you like to take a break too? Wait for me. Firen's face lit up and she immediately ran to the bedroom to change her clothes. Li Xian also acted on a spur-of-the-moment idea. Thanks to Firen's care during this period, he had a lot of time to devote to cultivation. It's a bit unreasonable to go out alone. After waiting for a long time, Firen, who had simply dressed up, walked out of the bedroom. She wore a foreign hat, her silver hair was tied into a ponytail, and she changed into a blue short skirt, short white socks, and light yellow sandals woven from rattan. Let's go. She looks full of energy and is very cute. What do you want to eat? Pick a place. Li Xian rarely had the mood to stroll around, so he was more generous. In fact, he was not very generous. He had looted hundreds of thousands of gold soul coins from Shilong. Now he was completely financially free, and Firen was not short of money either. To the capital. Then let's eat lobster. Oh no, the lobsters still need to be peeled, and I just got a manicure. Barbecue. Will it be too greasy to eat in summer? Let's have cold noodles. I know a good restaurant. Aren't we going to have a big meal? Then what do you want to eat? To the capital. Li Xian. In the evening, after eating lobster, the two men found a nail salon to repair the nails of a beauty-loving girl. The waiting time was very boring, and Li Xian had played for a long time at night, so it was rare for him to have time to go shopping by himself. The summer night market in Nottingham city centre is extremely lively. Li Xian couldn't remember how long it had been since he last bought a soul beast crystal core. I still have the body of the terror claw bear in my storage soul guide. Come to think of it, I reminded myself several times to buy some animal bones to try my luck, but I forgot every time. More than half a year ago, Li Xian obtained a soul bone from the left paw of a golden sand wolf king. In fact, he had been thinking about this for a long time. However, in Li Xian's eyes, soul bones were somewhat like external objects, so he kept delaying the matter. But I'm free today, Li Xian couldn't help but become interested. If there are flaws in the impact of spiritual forging, then get yourself a set of soul bones. He had already planned the best soul bones for each part of the body. He had already obtained the right claw of the terror claw bear, and he also had rough targets for the other 6 parts of the body. With millions of gold soul coins in his possession, Li Xian has enough financial resources to buy all the goods in the entire street. Therefore, in order to save time, he began to purchase in large quantities. It took half an hour to buy all the items related to soul beast corpses in the market. Chapter 100. It's around 9 o'clock in the evening. After returning home, Li Xian stayed in the living room on the second floor and poured all the soul beast bones he had purchased in front of him. The pile of bones and corpses was as high as a hill. They were marked in advance, so there was no need to worry about not being able to recognize the type of soul beast that the bones corresponded to. After telling Philin that he had something to do tonight, Li Xian began to make changes. The light in the palm of my hand continued to flicker. Sitting on the sofa, Li Xian held pieces of bones and kept picking them up and putting them down. The soul beast corpses piled up in front of him were decreasing at a speed visibly reduced by the naked eye. It only takes effort to change. He can fire at full speed. However, because the weather was too hot, Li Xian soon discovered a strange smell in the living room when he was fiddling with the bones. The stench made my brain feel dizzy. In the bedroom, after taking a shower, Philin closed the door tightly. From time to time, a cough was heard, but Li Xian did not ask why he did so. Li Xian also found that he was a little impatient. It was not until the second half of the night that Li Xian obtained a soul bone through meditation, which was a bone of his left arm. From a 3,000-year-old fire spider bear. After the modification, the soul bone has 8,000 years of cultivation. If only it had light properties. Once the soul bone is fused, it can only be removed by cutting off the corresponding part. Li Xian planned to absorb 6 light attribute soul bones, but this soul bone was somewhat unsuitable. Take a deep breath and put aside your distracting thoughts for now. If others saw him showing disdain towards a soul bone, they would definitely curse at him. Even an 8,000-year-old soul bone is a treasure that many soul masters dream of. Continue. After a brief period of recovery, Li Xian devoted himself to the revolution again. The materials in front of him included complete soul beast corpses and processed decorations. As for the corpse, Li Xian directly modified it. If the soul bone could not be generated, the soul beast's body would rot and disappear in 5,000 years, leaving only a complete skeleton. He doesn't need to clean up these bodies. Hey, it's the 10,000-year-old three-eyed golden lion. In the second half of the night, Li Xian ran out of materials. He recognized a soul beast that he had been keeping an eye on from among a large number of corpses. The three-eyed golden lion is a auspicious beast. It not only possesses the attribute of light, but its soul bone also has a very high blessing on mental power. Li Xian hopes to find a soul bone, preferably in the head area. Even if your cultivation level is lower, you can still choose it directly. Change. Talking to myself, Li Xian dragged the corpse of the three-eyed golden lion with both hands and pulled it into the spiritual space. He slowly opened his eyes and found that the more than 2-meter-long soul beast corpse in front of him had disappeared, leaving only a narrow and long skeleton, the surface of which was still sparkling. The body of a soul beast that has cultivated for 10,000 years will remain for a long time after death. The skull is glowing. Suddenly, Li Xian noticed that the skull of the three-eyed golden lion was emitting a bright halo. Take it off immediately and hold it in your hand. What good luck! Li Xian grinned. What you think will come true? Most of the soul bones exploded by the three-eyed golden lion were on the head, but he succeeded in one try. Li Xian was also surprised by his luck. Integrate first. The three-eyed golden lion has compatible attributes and correct mental power, so Li Xian is very satisfied with his soul bone. Half an hour later, the skull of the 10,000-year-old three-eyed golden lion was successfully fused. An exquisite aura emanated from Li Xian's body. The eyes are bright, the brain is clear, the mental power increases dramatically, and the thinking speed increases by more than 5 times. So that's how it is. The problem with the spirit forging lies there. At this time, Li Xian has a new understanding of some of his recent ideas. The first problem, the failure of spiritual forging, was immediately figured out. This is the benefit of a sudden increase in mental power. Skills are average. Because the innate skill of the three-eyed golden lion is the light of the eyes, the recorded documents also introduce the skills generated by the soul bone of the three-eyed golden lion's head. Li Xian found that this point had not changed. It means shooting attacks from both eyes, causing damage to mental strength. It is easy to understand. It seems that changing my mood is the right thing to do. At this moment, Li Xian's heart and hands were burning. After realizing the problems in forging, he was fully confident of fully achieving spiritual forging. Absorbing the soul bone of the head of the three-eyed golden lion will make you full of energy and you don't need to sleep. Li Xian immediately walked into the workshop on the second floor and began to verify his idea. Clang, clang. In the second half of the night, bursts of iron hammering sounds were heard from the villa. While sleeping, Philin dreamed that he was riding in a carriage with square wheels that shook. A few days later, Li Xian successfully achieved spiritual forging and stabilized this technique. At this moment, next to him, there were 5 cubic meters of spirit-forged metal, the surface of which was gleaming with spiritual light and shining brightly. It is enough to build 3 sets of battle armor. Unlike the 1,000 forgings, the spirit forging battle armor needs to be remade, and the soul master himself must also participate. By integrating the essence and blood into the battle armor, a humanoid soul guide can be created, which can be integrated into the body and match the soul and mental power. The battle armor turns into wings and can be summoned with a thought, increasing soul power by 30 levels. Totally up a level. On this day, Li Xian received a reply from Douluo Yuguan. It was a coincidence that this was the time when he was planning to make a new battle armor. Unfolding the letter, it was written by Douluo himself. The handwriting was elegant and very beautiful. Li Xian read all the content. Douluo's attitude was very tactful. He asked Li Xian not to interfere in the matter and told him that he would come over soon. Li Xian mentioned that Tang San was his friend, and after Zhu Douluo investigated the matter, he obviously found that it was within his ability, so he used such a gentle tone. Li Xian had expected this attitude of his. After all, although Zhu Douluo and Ghost Douluo have respected status, they are far from being a match for Pope Bibi Dong. Bibi Dong is not only strong herself, but also has the support of Douluo Palace Master Qian Sunji. He didn't expect too much from Yu Guan, he just wanted to find out how the Spirit Hall would deal with Shilong's affairs. The cheap teacher is coming. After all, he is a titled Douluo. Moreover, he also has impressive strength among the titled Douluo. Li Xian wrote down some of the confusions he had during his cultivation, intending to ask Zhu Douluo for advice later. Ever since he entered the Soul Sect, his cultivation speed has slowed down, and now he only has a soul power of level 46, which is far less fast than the improvement last year. Through Zhu Douluo, maybe we can find a way to speed up. More than half of the summer vacation has passed, and Li Xian has an inexplicable sense of urgency. After adjusting for half a day and regaining his strength, Li Xian began to make the two-character battle armor. He had already thought of a new name, which was Yao Guang. 7 days later. Forging room. After a period of silence followed by a series of knocking sounds, Li Xian put down the forging hammer and looked at a set of golden Dukai floating in front of him. The prototype of the two-character Dukai Yao Guang is completed. Mobilizing his soul power, Li Xian pierced his index finger, took a drop of blood, and then merged it into his battle armor. Doing this completes the recognition of the Lord. With a slight move, Yao Guang floated over and merged into his body like water and milk. With a thought, the battle armor covered his body, and a powerful force suddenly surged in Li Xian's body. A pair of illusory wings spread out with a buzzing sound. Cool. Upgraded by 30 levels. Gain the cultivation that only a soul saint can have. Although he lacks 3 skills compared to the soul saint, Li Xian can also release his martial soul's true form, which is a killing move. Control-type soul masters often begin to emerge after becoming soul saints. In other words, although Li Xian is only a soul master, with the help of battle armor, he has made up for the problem of weak combat effectiveness of control-type soul masters. The core magic circle in the two-word battle did not undergo much change, but the engraved soul patterns increased to as many as 3,000. This is also the reason why the two-word battle armor can provide powerful soul power. Moreover, not only combat power is increased, but also defense, speed, and overall performance are improved. Li Xian was thinking whether to make weapons for his battle armor. He had been researching a type of energy-gathering soul-guiding cannon a long time ago, and he was considering whether he could add it to his battle armor. Just thought of this, Li Xian suddenly looked up with a startled expression. A powerful force was approaching the villa. The teacher is here. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and subscribe to the channel so you are notified of future uploads. You can find the next parts in the playlist visible on the screen or on my channel. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.